Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Box. We were running a little late. We were running a little late tonight, but we're here.
We made it.
Yeah. Oh, so been a busy day today, Susie.
It has, but it's been actually productive instead of feeling like backwards. So we're working on that arena and the indoor arena. We're having to put a whole wall up, and we've got one third of it up today. So we're making
Oh,
some headway. Yeah,
oh,
I know,
wow.
right? Looks good too. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean it's good when things start to kind of go together because we had a disaster yesterday when we got started. We had to weld all kinds of more stuff, and today it just kind of went smoothly. And the weather was beautiful. It's like I didn't even sweat today, Brenda. It was like I don't even know what temperature it was, if it was in the 70s or 80s, but it was so beautiful out. I'm running around and I'm not even sweating, and I'm like, okay, now
Wow.
whoever is running the thermostat up there, they've got a permanent job. Okay. The other guy, he's fired. Okay. But this guy, he's good.
Well, see, now I don't know because it
Over
may be
here.
being nice over there, but it's still been pretty hot here.
Well,
And I
make sure
do.
you tell your, higher ups that whoever's running it's fired over there. Okay.
And I do think that we got quite a bit of rain today. We got some more rain earlier today. So,
We did too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of stunk. We might
Oh,
have somebody different joining
somebody.
us tonight. Yeah. I
Oh,
uh
fun.
I got a thumbs up and sent the link, so we'll see.
Okay.
Um but he also does he a lot of biblical stuff, and you know,
Okay, cool.
not everybody's interpretations always match, but
No, and of course not.
everybody learns from each other.
Look how many
Um,
denominations are just within the Christian church.
right, right.
Hundreds, if not thousands.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. So we'll see where this little adventure takes us.
Right?
So so you almost got your arena sighting done. That's good.
Yeah.
And then you'll move on to something else.
I know. Maybe my next project. Whatever that would be. Yeah. I'll think of something.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
always
you always
always
do
doing
it.
that. I'm building cities. All my
Well,
little mini cities. Hey, got to keep busy. Actually, I'll be able to take a break and start going to some more horse events, and me and Joel can spend more time on that once we get this big project behind us.
in
Yeah.
September
Well,
or when it
yes.
when it cools
Hey,
off.
if it's like this, I can handle it. My horse can handle it, and I won't feel bad. Yeah.
It's just always cooler where you are for some reason, but that
Well,
don't
it's a
mean it's
little
gonna be cooler
further
everywhere
north.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Central Texas eh, is hot. I mean, it just
Hmm.
is. You don't get a lot of rain. I think the average rainfall. I think up here it's like 36 inches, and down there it might be like 20 something inches a year. I don't. It's a big difference in the amount of rain because I always studied all that when I was,
Well,
because
I got teased earlier because I seen, oh, there's supposed to be a cold front moving in, and I'm sitting here going, and where is it?
hey, it came to us. Okay, it just hasn't got down that far yet. It was blowing through Arkansas and then kind of coming down into Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's it's so hot for me. I can't
Hi,
even
Brent.
get out of the house and go to the store. It's just because by the time we get in the car, start the car, roll the windows down, turn the air on, by the time the air gets going, me and the dog are sitting in the passenger seat going,
I
so,
know it.
it
And
is. It's
it's that kind
horrible.
of heat. It like draws your life force out of your body. It's
Hello,
terrible.
Scott.
You guys doing?
We're
Hi.
doing
Hey,
We're doing good. We just started. We got started a little bit late. I don't know if you've ever met Suzy, but this is my
Howdy,
co-host
howdy.
Suzy.
Howdy, howdy. Were you guys out of Texas?
Yep,
Yep.
Okay.
all of us out of Texas. Yep. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's weird. That's a weird state, you know.
It is.
Hey, what? They're all weird states. What are you
I
gonna
was
say?
driving through Texas and I ran out of gas
Yeah,
there.
that happens.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
you had to drive so far.
well, yeah, that's another story. The tank, I had the tank replaced in the truck, but actually it was a manufacturer defect that the float valve in there, when it got down to like a quarter of a tank, it would just like drop. And nobody ever brought that up to the manufacturer. And I had the tank replaced again, did the same thing in Texas, like outside Amarillo.
Oh,
And I mean, midnight, midnight, running out of gas. Wow,
midnight in Amarillo. Hi, Brett. Every now and then, Suzy, you'll see a black thing go across the screen. That's Scott's cat's tail, because Scott's cat's tail likes to be on shows too.
All right, we love our animals.
The cat likes podcasts.
Yeah. So tonight, Scott, Suzy has been doing some research and some biblical research on false gods, Norse gods, and
A little bit of Greek,
a little bit of Greek, and a lot of
and
other
biblical
things.
biblical gods.
And,
Yeah,
yes,
and they're all it basically any authority that considers itself a higher power, or kind of
that
a ruler. Yeah.
that's not the Father. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
No.
But that's what we're doing.
More like,
We got some videos that we show little skits of, and last night, you missed last night's show, man. Last night we did UFOs, skinwalkers, and all kinds of different things. And then I went and stayed over on Abe's show till 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm pushing myself too late at night. Oh my God.
It seems to be all we do when we're kind of retired. We just sleep and podcast. That's it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, in Arizona, being 115, what do you do?
Oh, true.
I'm sorry.
True.
It's so hot there.
I lived in Florida, and it'd be, let's say, 90 at night. You go out and play tennis or ride your bike. At least you can go out because of the humidity. You're not dried out. The air goes in your, and then you take water and dump it over your head or something, and you kind of like cool off. But this type of dry heat out here, it's brutal. It's ungodly.
I lived out there for 10 years, and I got heat stroke in 120 degrees when I went from California to there. Didn't know any better. Didn't take any water with me. And I think I was outside for 10, 15 minutes without any water. And I ended up passing out in a hotel lobby somewhere and woke up in the hospital like 2 or 3 days later. Yeah. So I learned after that, you do everything at night. You stay in the house in the air conditioning during the day. And then at night, you go out and you shop and you play and you work and everything at night.
Yeah, I lived in Asia. They do the same thing in Asia. I moved over there in 71 and walked out of the airport with the family and walked out. It was midnight. And it's like, it would be, I'll give you a picture. It'd be like walking in New York City, in the daytime. I don't know. That's a bad example, but I mean, like zillions of people at midnight, hustling and bustling, and it's midnight, and it's like, talking about a culture shock. Not to get off the subject, but it's like that's what they do. They eat, they do all their stuff at night, and it's 24/7. These people don't, they go to sleep. I guess they go to sleep during the daytime, but it's it's a weird world we live in. When it's hot, they come out at night and eat, set up picnic tables on the street, start eating, and they're like eating breakfast at night.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
But all right, Suzy, let's see. You said to me that you sent the second video that you sent me, and boy, you sent me a lot.
Okay, and I want to kind of give everybody a little heads up where we're going to go with this today.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so heads up is here some things that I have been looking at in studying all this stuff. You know, there's some very strange coincidences, and I don't believe personally in coincidences, but these are overwhelming coincidences. So I just want to ask like the audience to make their own conclusions about what I'm going to be showing. I'm not going to try to say, hey, look, this is what you should believe, or hey, this is what, what I think you should believe. It might be what I believe based on the overwhelming information or things that I'm getting over the years and what I've studied and stuff, which is kind of blowing me away based on the fact that I realized that all of my life I have been lied to about everything and everything and everyone, and so with that in mind, all the lies, I've had to try to find the truth, and it's not easy to find. And I'm not saying that this is the truth, what I'm going to show tonight, and in the fact that in the way that I'm going to present it, but I just want people to just, just look at it, and then just think about it, and if anybody, kind of thinks there's something there, I'm trying to learn more about it myself, by the research that I've been doing. And that is, the subject is about, I've studied all the Gnostic stuff. I've looked at pretty much everything. I've read the Bible 7 times. I've read the different translations. I studied Hebrew roots. I've read the Jewish Bible. I've read the Quran. I've read a lot of stuff and different religions and different, as well as trying to piece this all together. And then I've done deep dives on a lot of stuff. And then I've looked at history and I've looked at evidence and I've looked at all these things. And then I've tried to come up with what I feel makes sense. And what I do understand is that there is a source, God, that lives in what is known as the Pleroma, and he created these authorities or aeons that are like, there's like 12, but they're like in pairs, so like 24, like, well, you would think of like the 24 elders of the Bible or something like that, but they are like of pure being, okay, all good qualities, mercy, truth, love, kindness, meekness, all those are the aeons that emanated from the source, from God, right? I say God, but God is a word that is used in such a way that it becomes polluted, I think. And what I'm saying is, when someone says, I believe in God, you almost, Brenda, you and I know a certain person that said they believed in God, and turned out their God wasn't the same God that we believed in. And a lot of people say they believe in God, but they name a certain particular God that they believe in. So God could mean different things to different people. Okay, so just because someone says they believe in God, you got to dig a little deeper and say, who is your God?
Right.
I've had people say to me, my God is an alien. I'm like, excuse me, my God is not an alien. Okay, not happening. Okay.
Right. Right.
My God is not the government of defense. Okay. My God is not the CIA, the men in black. Okay. That's not my God. Okay. So what I'm saying is God is a word that people use as what they worship or what they follow. You know, some people serve Lucifer as God. Okay.
Right.
So, you know, and Jesus called him the God of this world. So that word could represent not the most high supreme being. Okay.
Right.
So there's so with this, one of the things that I wanted to show, before you put the video out, I'm going to send you something real quick, and I want you to show this.
Uh-oh.
What?
Nothing. I already have it up and waiting, but okay, I got this.
Okay, okay, I'm going to send it real quick,
Go
and
ahead.
all right, hang on 1 second.
Monica, how could you let that run out? I always have backups. That's horrible. Hello, Andres, Monica, Brent.
And okay, so this is why I sent it to you. Did you see what it? Do you see it yet? Did it get there?
Yeah.
I may. Okay, that was pretty quick.
Wow.
This is my birth certificate. This is my birth name, and this is important because my name is the name Alt Father. I have the name of the Father as my last name. Okay, so the name Alt Father represents Odin, the All Father, the Alt Father. That, and I want everybody to see that is my birth name. That is my birth certificate. That is my real name. The and Alt means the ultimate father. And so my lineage literally goes back to the All Father. Okay. And I've traced it back and it goes back. And everybody who has studied the Norse mythology has heard that Odin was the god of the Norse. He was a god. So he would have been who I am going to be referencing tonight. And this is why this is kind of important to me, um, finding my roots, finding my genealogy, finding who I am and where I come from and where we all come from. You know, we're all children, from the Most High, right? Okay.
Right.
Unless, you know, everybody, everything started with source. It did get sidetracked after, according to the Gnostic story, outside of the pleroma, there was a shadow. And in that shadow, Sophia or wisdom created something that turned out to be what they called the demiurge, and which I believe turns out to be like the alien grays that run everything. Basically, that's where we're at, and this is why we live in a world where we're full of UFOs and demonic things, and we have darkness and all that. But that's outside of the realm that God lives, basically. But then Christ came from the pleroma with the Holy Spirit to fix everything and to help us. That's sort of the way the story goes. Okay. So I just had to
Now,
put that out there. Now, go ahead. What?
the one that you want me to start with, is it the Loki one?
It is. It is. No, it is number 2, and it is about Balder. So
Well, I
in
screwed that one up.
okay. So here's the point. Real quick, I'll say this. You have Odin, who's okay. The days of the week are named after Odin. Odin is Wednesday, Woden. Thursday is Thor's day. Friday is Freya, the wife. Which would have been my great grandmother. Great great grandmother. I'm not related. Like in that, Balder was. This is the weird thing. I'm gonna show how it's a coincidence that the story of Odin is like the story of Jehovah. Balder, the son of God, of Odin, the son of God, is like Jesus. And then Thor, okay, who was from another um, mother, is like Zeus, okay? And then I'm going to show, and then Loki is like Lucifer, the trickster god, okay? So you have the Norse mythology, and then it overlaps the Greek story, and then it overlaps the Christian story, and they all fit together like a perfect little, like, it's almost too neatly packaged to say that there's not something going on there. That's what I'm looking at. Everybody can draw their own conclusions, but it's just too bizarre. And so I want to present my case with my evidence, okay, of who Odin and his family are, what they represent, what they stand for, and then tell the Greek story also, and why those Greek gods seem to play into the same story. And I don't believe any of this is a coincidence. I don't think so. You know. And then we get to the biblical stories, which are the same stories as these stories. It's really bizarre. Okay. So
Oh
Balder
boy.
would have been known as the god, and he's number 2. This is going to be the first video you're going to show, and
Yeah, sure.
we're gonna look at Balder, the son of Odin. Okay, go ahead.
You sent me so many of them. I'm having to go through all of them. So I'm looking right now. Nope, that's not it. Rah, 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 rah. Okay.
And Balder, by the way, does look like Jesus also in all the descriptions. He looks like Jesus, literally.
Okay, I think maybe I found that. Does it start where it's a page like you're gonna read it?
Well, you can do that. There's 2 of them. That's the first one. You can do that one or the second one. Doesn't matter because they're both about Balder. But go ahead and do that one with a page. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's a girl who reads, who she sees the connections as well. So go ahead and
okay. Let me
show that.
pop that one up then.
This is going to get a deep rabbit hole someday because we're going to go all over the place.
You ready, Scott? You got your shovel?
Yeah, I mean, it's true what she's saying.
Yeah.
What if God is omnipresent? So he, all these different scenarios that throughout history are all part of, God, presenting to each culture. I'm just throwing that out as, as a hypothetical. But yeah, I mean, one of my girlfriends was telling me that this whole Jesus story, it's all through Egyptian, they have, it's all like, I guess she was trying to point out that, she's kind of questioned the story of Jesus, in a way that there's so many other scenarios that are identical, to the story of Jesus Christ. So is that where you're kind of leading a little bit, or am I off on that?
I don't think...
in this world that we live in, that make you question, what is really going on.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let me go ahead and bring this up here, and I will play it. But how long is this? Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna make this video differently than I originally was gonna make it. I actually already made it, but it was too long to upload, so I'm gonna have to make it in pieces. And I was gonna start with my list of everything, but I think I'm gonna start with the proof of everything.
Scott, I've only got you muted for a minute.
Sum it all up. That'll be probably easier for you to understand.
Okay.
So first we're gonna start with Balder. Let's talk about Balder. Now, it says over here that Balder, who's the son of Odin, Balder, the son of God, basically. And, he's considered this, he lives in heaven, and he's considered to be, the shining one and the white one, and he's, the king of men and lord of man and all these things. So, okay, so that's who Balder is. Now, it says over here that he had a dream of his own death, and that his mother had the same dream. Since dreams were usually prophetic, this depressed him. So then it goes on about, well, basically something that involves his death. And we'll get to that in a minute. So basically what we know here is that he had a dream of his own death, and that his mom had the same dream. So then if you look over here at this John 11:13, it says Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. Then when you look at Matthew 17:21-23, it says, when the disciples all came together in Galilee, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that way. Anyway, Jesus said to them, the Son of Man is about to be handed over to those who kill him, but 3 days later he will be raised to life. So we know that Jesus also prophesied his own death. And his disciples came to be very sad. And pay attention to this part right here where it says 3 days, because that's going to be important in a little bit. But, so now we know that Jesus knew he would die. So did Balder. Let's go on and talk about how Balder dies. Now it says that basically Loki, his brother, made a spear out of mistletoe. Okay? And it says that Loki gave the spear to his brother and basically tricked him into throwing it at Balder. Now the thing about Balder is he was not able to die except for by this one thing, which happened to be mistletoe, and I'll explain that story to you later. So he died by a magical spear made from mistletoe. It says made from this plant, but it's mistletoe, and I'll read to you later about that. So we know that Balder...
And in case anybody missed that, it's actually wrong to kiss somebody under the mistletoe at Christmas. Okay.
And also, the way the spear went up through his rib cage into his heart was the same way that Jesus died in the story too.
Right.
With a spear. Okay, so if you go to the crucifixion, actually, let's not even go there yet. Well, at the crucifixion, but let's go to the scripture first because it's easier to understand it right here. It says that instead, one of the soldiers, like they were talking about when Jesus died on the cross, and that basically, instead of breaking his leg like they normally do during crucifixions, they pierced Jesus' side with a spear, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water. Blood and water. Now, later it talks about how because Jesus bled both blood and water, they knew that he was the Son of God. Okay? And later we'll talk about why that's important. Keep that in mind. Blood and water. Okay, so now we know that both Jesus and Balder were pierced with a spear. Okay. Now let's talk about mistletoe for a minute. Now this says it's a lore or a legend. Where is it? This isn't it. It talks about how right here that right here it talks about how the Roman Empire crumbled and Christianity spread. It said a rumor began. Now it's interesting that they call it a rumor because the legend of mistletoe is that the cross upon which Jesus died was made of mistletoe. So it's interesting that we see that mistletoe is also related to Jesus' death as it is to Balder. And that it says right here that its host plant, such as an oak or an ash, they said right here that the plant was forbidden to grow out of the earth and was demoted to being a botanical parasite. It now has to have a host plant, such as oak and ash. Well, in Norse mythology, the ash tree is the tree of life. So that's important to pay attention to because it's also part of this death. But to sum up, we know that mistletoe is somehow related to Jesus' death as it is to Balder's death. Then if you look at why mistletoe was what killed Balder, it says right here that the story goes that mistletoe was a sacred plant of Frigga. Frigga was Balder's mother, and she was also the goddess of love and the god of the summer sun. Oh, I'm sorry. That Balder was the god of the summer sun. So that's what I meant. So it's interesting because Balder is right here related to the sun. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute to explain that. I believe that Balder and both Jesus are actually the sun, as in the sun in the sky, and that God is the nebula from which our sun was created. And I'll explain all that later. But basically, I believe that Balder and Jesus are cycles of the sun in the sky, because they're the son of God. Okay, so now we're going to go back to mistletoe. So, then it said that Balder had a dream of his death, which greatly alarmed his mother. So, Because if Balder dies, all life on Earth would end. Now it's interesting because if Balder dies, all life on Earth ends. So think about that. Because if the sun dies, what happens to us? We die. Alright, so let's talk about that now. Okay, so then, let's go back to the mistletoe. So then it says, Balder could not be hurt by anything on Earth or under the Earth. But Balder had one enemy, Loki, that was his brother, who knew that the plant that grew neither on Earth nor on the tree, but on an apple and an oak tree. So we talk about how mistletoe was growing on an apple and an oak tree. And we know that they talked about that with with Jesus. Whoops, I keep going back to that one right here where it says that it was demoted to being a botanical parasite, and that it grew on an oak and an ash. Now they say oak and ash, and in Norse mythology it's oak and apple. But either way, it's important. So then it says that Loki made an arrow from the mistletoe and stabbed him with. Well, he tricked his brother into shooting it at Balder and killing him. Now here comes the 3 days, which I told you to pay attention to. It says right here, for 3 days, each element of the universe tried to bring Balder back to life. So if Balder's the sun, each element of the universe is trying to bring the sun back. So I believe that these are all, like I said, cycles of the sun. And then the rest of this is just about what his mother did after this happened. And I'll read about that later because I'm going to make a video about how Frigga is the goddess of love and she's related to Venus and Venus is related to the sun, but we'll talk about that later. So anyway, now what do we know? We know that Balder and Jesus have some things in common. They were both killed with a spear. That the spear is related to mistletoe. We know that they're both the sons of God. And, they're both called King and Lord of Man, King of Man and Lord of Man, and, they're related to illumination and light and all these things. So, and they both knew that they would die. Now, it says here that, let me find it. Okay, it says Odin whispered in his ear after Balder died. Well, we know that Jesus, when he was on the cross, that that God came to him as a dove. So, the Holy Spirit came to him as a dove. So we know that God was present at the death. We also know that Balder's wife was present at his death because it said that Balder's wife also threw herself onto the funeral fire. And so she basically killed herself, but she was at his death. She was at the funeral. Okay. And his mother was at the funeral. And we know that from reading the mistletoe, or that she was at his death, because we know that from over here where it talked about how, his mother finally restored him, and how, she was all upset when he died. And,
Oh.
let me find it. Well, anyway, it's on here. I'll post this link and you can read this whole section yourself. But we know that the mom was there and we know that the wife was there. And then when you look at the crucifixion of Jesus, we know that, is it this one or is it the other one? This one, that right here, Mary, Jesus' mother, and Mary Magdalene were among them. They were at the crucifixion. So we know now that both of them had their wife and their mother at the crucifixion. And we also know, like I said, God came to him in, when he was dying. So now we can relate all that to this. And that's all the correlations for now, I believe. I'm gonna sum this up in the next video with a, I feel like I'm missing something.
All right, Brenda,
here.
you can go ahead and...
Okay. Hang on a
okay.
second.
Now, okay.
Okay.
You have any thoughts?
No, hang on a second. Scott, when the video's playing, I need to mute you because it goes
That's
through
fine.
your speakers. Okay.
Yeah,
Just letting you
fine,
know.
yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know that, so that's cool. All right.
Yeah. It causes that echo.
But if you
Um,
got to say something, Scott, just raise your
yeah,
hand and we'll yeah, well,
pause and unmute.
Yeah, this is really
yeah.
interesting. I got to make a comment too later, whenever you're done. But yeah, this is
Well,
really interesting stuff.
go ahead. I mean, what I'm coming with it is basically, I think that their stories are identical, but like one's for Christianity or Catholic, and then this is, like they're all different for different religions and different takes, but they are all the same
Different
thing.
times, different peoples. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So weird. It just, it's mind-boggling.
Right?
Hey, Susie, have you read that book, the Smoky God, that's Norse? Have you ever heard of that book? Olaf Jensen's Journey to the Inner Earth, the Smoky God.
I'm not sure if I have or
Because
not.
he was a believer in Odin and Thor and stuff, but it's a fictional book, but the guy on his deathbed out there in L.A., he dictated the story to the inner earth but just look that up. It's I think it's just called the Smoky God.
It's called.
Do your research on that. But it's
Okay. I'll look it
all
up.
this Norse mythology, and very interesting book. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great,
Susie goes
yeah,
in.
it sounds interesting because
Yeah, Susie gets into all different books.
Yeah.
Didn't we do one on the book of Sophia? We did one on the book of Sophia.
yeah.
And she reads all that stuff and gets all that stuff. I like it because I can't sit down and read like that because my eyes will just like give in. They're done. So I'm blind as a bat. I have two different reading glasses, a pair of regular glasses, and a magnifying glass with a light, and my eyes do not want to play nice. So it's horrible. So the next one that you have is the tragic
This
story
one is really the
of
guy.
Boulder.
The other, it's yeah. The other one, it's the video, right? It's a video.
Yeah, it's a video.
It would have been the second one. Yeah. And the guy that does these videos, he does like a whole bunch of videos on a whole bunch of stuff. And he does some on the Nephilim. He does some, like he's really good. I really like his stuff. So he does this one on Balder. And so I wanted to play it because, he's really good.
Okay, interesting. All right, and we start it. Well, you know what? I got to put it up here first, Brenda. I was talking and not paying attention. Usually I'll get them all set up and then, yeah. All right. Silly me. One of them days. It's one of them days. All right.
There it is.
There. That's it, right? Okay.
Yep, that's it.
In the majestic realm of Asgard, divine beings strolled amidst otherworldly spires, but none shone brighter than Baldur, a god whose radiance surpassed even the blazing sun. This is the enchanting tale of the god of light, whose luminosity bestowed boundless joy upon both gods and mortal beings. However, the gods soon realized that Baldur's fate had already been decided. His story is one of brilliance, betrayal, and tragedy, a tale that casted a shadow over the majestic skies of Asgard and the Nine Realms. Baldur's saga commences with a divine birth to Odin, the All-Father and King of Asgard, and Frigg, the revered Queen of Asgard. His arrival heralded great significance, a destined beacon of light and radiance in the tumultuous web of Norse mythology. He was the brother of Hodor, the god often attributed to darkness, and Hermod, the messenger of the gods, as well as the half-brother to a multitude of gods such as Thor, the god of thunder, Tyr, the god of war, Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, and many more. Despite his attribution to light, Baldur's name has continued to be shrouded in darkness. Argued amongst scholars, the meaning behind his name has never reached a consensus. Baldur was originally believed to mean bold or brave, while later scholars believed it meant bright or shining. Regardless of its meaning, the mere mention of Baldur's name alone was enough to inspire those seeking guidance. Baldur's birth, bathed in the divine glow of Asgard, became a symbol of harmony. Yet the threads of fate, unseen and mysterious, began to weave a tale that would echo.
You know, you guys, I've got something I want to say. Could you imagine on life here on Earth, looking up in the skies and looking across and just seeing all of that, you know, bright skies, sun, planets, stars. Just, could you imagine that? I mean,
cool.
I would think so. I mean, I don't know about a lot of people, but in the night sky especially, I see sometimes a lot of peace, you know, just maybe it's just because it's quiet. You don't have the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So I think, I don't know, it's just kind of mystical to me.
Yeah, Brenda, it's like the expanse. When I broke down in Amarillo, I pulled off or whatever, and I'm not going to go into that story, but I looked up in the sky and it was like horizon to horizon, like the Milky Way. Because in Texas, you know, it's you know, the big sky, right? So it's like I looked up in that and I felt like this peace, like, you know, breaking down didn't matter, but it's like, oh my God, look at this sky, you know, oh my God, it's unbelievable.
Well, you know, Steve goes out to Suzy's and takes cameras and films and takes photograph of the night skies out there, because she actually lives like 5 hours from me, and she lives way out in the country where there's nothing basically but little small town. And it's just amazing out there, some of the things that you see. The show that we did on that with Steve, I mean, it was great. I mean, there were blue orbs and green orbs,
red orbs.
Yeah, Abe sat in
dropping
with
down
us.
And all kinds of traffic going on up there. Yeah, it's crazy.
And Abe sat in with us, and he even noticed some things that we all missed, you know?
Yeah.
So it was really neat. Really neat. So, all right, on we go.
Go through the realms for eternity.
And here goes the commercials again, guys. Okay.
Baldur was adorned with golden locks rivaling the sun and eyes sparkling like starlight. He embodied a divine spectacle of beauty and brilliance. His unique role among the gods painted him as a symbol of light and radiance, a beacon that illuminated the realm of Asgard. Baldur possessed a great ship called Ringhorn, meaning ship with a circle on its stem, which was said to be the greatest ship ever constructed. This ship would later play its role, following the tumultuous events of Baldur's life. Baldur was also known for his fairness, gentleness, and likability. All those that encountered Baldur spoke highly of him. He was the most beloved god amongst the Aesir gods. To some, he was believed to be too good for this world, for his righteousness and love stood out in a world where chaos and hatred was far too common. In his divine responsibility, Baldur's beauty and radiance attracted others to him, shining a light upon the world, both physically and metaphorically. His benevolence dispelled darkness, and the gods reveled in the eternal glow emanating from his presence. Asgard basked in the warmth of his luminosity, and existence seemed to weave a tale of unending harmony. Amidst the heavenly realm of Asgard, Baldur's heart resonated with joy as he found his match in Nanna, a goddess radiating love and joy. She represented the heliotropic nature of flowers, which bloom with glee at the sun's light and seem to follow it across the sky into death, withering away when it goes but returning anew with the rebirth of spring. The union of Baldur and Nanna, blessed by the divine forces, became a living symbol of joy. They represented an opposite pairing to Sigyn and Loki, where Nanna and Baldur's marriage consisted of a wife devoted to a joyful and a celebrated husband. Sigyn and Loki's marriage consisted of a wife devoted to a scheming and outcasted husband. The connection between these gods was greater than symbolism, as we would later learn. From the divine love of Baldur and Nanna came a son named Forseti. Forseti was a god intricately associated with justice and fairness, following the theme of his beloved parents. The halls of Asgard echoed with the laughter of their divine family, a testament to the harmony bestowed upon the realms by Baldur's radiant presence. The Aesir reveled in the joyous symphony of their existence, unaware of the shadows that quietly plotted the fate of both Baldur and Nanna. Yet amidst the radiant joy of Asgard, insidious shadows crept over Baldur's destiny. Troubling dreams like ominous phantoms haunted his nights, and visions of impending doom casted a shadow over his thoughts. His mother Frigg was also haunted by these malevolent visions. This was seen as an ominous sign, for dreams were believed by the Norse to contain glimpses of the future and things to come. Odin decided that something had to be done to protect his beloved son. Mounting Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse, Odin rode to Helheim, the realm of the dead. He searched for an oracle that could decipher these ominous premonitions. There, Odin found the deceased Völva, a witch and a practitioner of cider, a form of magic that was capable of viewing the future, among other things. Seeking her help, Odin used magic of his own in order to resurrect her from the dead. All did not go according to plan, however. Völva was most displeased at being roused from her death slumber and resisted Odin's interrogation. Undeterred, Odin pressed on, eventually earning several hints and glimpses of the future from the reluctant Völva. She foretold that Baldur would indeed die, though she did not specify how, and that those who loved him would mourn. With nothing more to gain, Odin returned to Asgard. He shared what he had learned with his wife Frigg, and she was rightfully devastated. However, a mother's love is not easily quelled. Frigg was determined to forestall her son's death. Her journey sought to weave additional safeguards, invisible threads to shield her beloved son from the encroaching darkness. Frigg approached all things in the universe, living and inert, and made them promise never to harm her son. Fire, water, stones, sickness, serpents, and venom, anything that Frigg could think of, was no longer able to harm Baldur. In doing so, Baldur had effectively become invincible. When news about Baldur's invincibility spread, the gods reveled in blissful ignorance. They engaged in merriment and playfully tossing of objects at Baldur. The fellow Aesir told Baldur to stand still as they shot him with arrows and beat him with stones. But no matter what they did, Baldur remained unharmed. The gods, in playful camaraderie, continued to engage in tests to showcase Baldur's invincibility. Laughter echoed through the spires as they hurled objects, each meeting its end in the radiant glow of the god of light. However, unbeknownst to the gods, something, or rather someone, was lurking in the shadows. Loki, the mischievous god, took offense to Baldur's immunity. He delighted in the misfortunes and harm that befell others, and he could not stand idly by as Baldur stood in opposition to that. The ever-sly trickster concocted a plan. He took the form of a woman and approached Frigg. He questioned the goddess, inquiring whether she truly had all things in existence swear an oath to not harm Baldur. Not sensing any malicious intent, Frigg unveiled that she missed one thing. Frigg had not demanded an oath from the humble mistletoe. Hiding his sinister smile, Loki excused himself and rushed off to locate the mistletoe, Upon acquiring it, he fashioned it into a dart. When he returned, he was ecstatic to see that the gods were still hurling objects at Baldur. For the next part of Loki's plan, he had to locate Baldur's brother, Hodur. Hodur was a blind god, hence his association to darkness. Loki noticed that Hodur did not engage in the fun with the rest of the gods and decided to entice him to join. After some convincing, Loki handed Hodur the dart he crafted and instructed him on where to throw it. As Hodur stepped up to the plate and launched the dart, Baldur and the other gods watched in anticipation, as they believed that this dart would simply bounce off his body. However, to their surprise, the dart was not deflected. Rather, the dart impaled Baldur, mortally wounding him and extinguishing the divine light that had illuminated Asgard. The heavens, once resonant with joyous laughter, now quivered with mournful cries. In shock, the gods all rushed over to Baldur. As he took his final breath, Odin whispered into his ear, though what he said continues to remain a mystery. The realm, once adorned with the radiant glow of Baldur, plunged into a darkness that mirrored the desolation of the gods' hearts.
Well, Loki's an ass. Let me just say that real quick. That was horrible. I still have it up.
Jealous?
So what are your thoughts so far, Scott, on this part of
Well,
the
it
story?
parallels the same sword. You know, the sword stabbing Jesus, right?
Yeah.
The spear of destiny. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, they say Hitler has the spear of destiny or had the spear of destiny, and then the Vatican has the spear of destiny, the spear that killed Jesus, you know.
I don't think the Vatican has it. I think that it's in Antarctica with a lot of other stuff.
Just it's so weird though that's, you know, this, you know, the same story but different times, different names, you know.
Yeah.
Just weird.
Well, that, you know, the sword also depicts the sword of spirit, you know, in the body of armor. The sword is the spirit.
Yeah.
I mean no, hang on. Yeah.
Well, it was just a spear, not a sword. Yeah. An
Yeah.
arrow or a spear.
Yeah, I'm just
Like,
a little
yeah.
off on that, I guess, you know.
It's like
But
it's like the same thing though. I mean, it's the same
could be, or
story.
it's the same type of weapon. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
And
It is. It's so bizarre, you know.
Wow. All right. Let me go ahead and bring this. We got a little more on this video to share.
right.
We'll have a little more to see. I think it's interesting. Why didn't we do this stuff before, Suzy?
Right?
Amidst the pervasive grief that gripped Asgard, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of Baldur's steadfast brother, Hermod. Frigg requested for a volunteer to travel to the realm of the dead and beg Hel, the goddess of the dead, for the release of Baldur. It was then that Hermod stepped forward to offer his services. He mounted upon Sleipnir, Odin's eight-legged steed, and embarked on a perilous odyssey to the desolate realm of Helheim, the dominion of the dead. Hermod traveled for 9 days and 9 nights before finally arriving in Hel's halls. There, he found a forlorn Baldur seated at Hel's table. His heart, heavy with sorrow, bore the weight of a passionate plea to Hel. In the shadowy expanse of Helheim, Hermod's desperate entreaty echoed through the eerie stillness. Hermod asked the goddess of death to release Baldur, claiming that the fallen god was the most beloved being in all creation. Touched by the god's profound sorrow, Hel proposed an otherworldly challenge. She agreed to Baldur's release, but only on the condition that all things, living and unliving, first weep for him. Ecstatic, Hermod agreed to the challenge and rushed back to Asgard with the news. Upon
she is
hearing
Loki's
this,
daughter.
the Aesir quickly began sending messengers out to spread the word. They approached humans and animals, trees and plants, and even inanimate objects such as rocks and stones. All things indeed began to weep for Baldur. The gods were close to eliciting tears from every last entity in existence. That is, until they found an old giantess named Thok in a remote cave. In an unexpected twist of fate, Thok was completely unmoved by the collective grief of the gods. No matter what pleas and bargains the gods threw at her, she remained cold. The stubborn giantess withheld her tears and sealed Baldur's fate. Unbeknownst to the gods, Thok was actually Loki in disguise. It was not enough to plot Baldur's death, but the mischievous god wanted to ensure that the radiant god would never return to the realm of the living, at least not for the time being. Baldur would have to remain in the underworld, emerging only after the events of Ragnarok. In the somber aftermath of tragedy, the gods gathered amidst.
Look at that.
And see, Ragnarok is the same as the Armageddon battle. Basically, it's like the like this coincidental thing, and that Jesus will return during the end battle, and so will Baldur return at the end of this Ragnarok battle.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
Same, yeah, yes.
wow. Okay, here we go.
The celestial splendor of Asgard to bid a poignant farewell to Baldur. They embarked on the sacred task of crafting a vessel befitting the god of light's divine essence. With the dawn, 4 of the gods lifted Baldur's body onto their shoulders, while all the others formed a long cortege. They carried him down to the sea and laid his corpse on his great ship, called Hringhorn, the greatest ship ever built. The gods built Baldur's pyre in the middle of the ship, up against the mast, and adorned it with weapons and shields. They took hold of the stern and tried to launch the ship, but their grief had exhausted them. So much so that they could not summon up the strength to move the ship on its wooden rollers. The gods decided to send a messenger speeding to Jotunheim to ask for the help of the giantess Hyrrokin. The giant Hyrrokin soon came, riding a wolf with vipers for reins. As soon as she leaped off her steed, Odin summoned 4 berserkers and told them to watch over the wolf and ensure that it did not cause any harm. Despite the Allfather's good intentions, the very sight of the 4 men in their animal skins angered the wolf. The berserkers grabbed the viper reins, but they were unable to hold the wolf as it tried to break free. The berserkers became as mad as the wolf itself, and in fury, they rained blows on the wolf with their club-like fists, leaving it for dead in the sand. Meanwhile, Hyrrokin approached the ship and proceeded to push it into the water. She pushed with such force that the pine rollers were set on fire due to the friction and singed the great ship. Upon seeing this, Thor was enraged. He believed that Baldur's ship and funeral pyre were treated with disrespect and grabbed his trusty hammer Mjolnir, ready to crush the giantess's head. Odin himself, with several other gods, hurried to Thor's side and restrained him, urging him calm, reminding him that the giantess only came to help. As they began to resume the funeral, Nanna, Baldur's wife, caught a glimpse of his lifeless body. This sight put her body in a state of shock, and in a cruel twist of fate, Nanna died of grief and a broken heart. This left their son alone in the world, having lost both parents in the same.
Well, somehow we have lost Suzy. She shall return, I'm pretty sure. There she is. Well, hello, Suzy. Welcome back.
Hang on a second. I gotta go out and come back in because I got a call that messed up my thing. But keep going. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Well, keep going, Scott.
Yeah, they mentioned 9 days. So, Jesus was in the underworld 3 days and 3 nights, 3 times 3, right? 9.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Day.
Yeah, so there's
The gods.
Oh, hang on. So there's what?
there's a parallel, there.
Yeah.
Parallel stories.
Right. I never really thought about that, but I didn't know about all the different comparisons, So, interesting.
Decided to rest Nanna's body next to Baldur's, to give them a send-off that befitted the beloved couple. As gods, elves, dwarves, and giants all gathered for the funeral, treasures of all sorts were placed on the ship. Weapons, armor, buckles, rings, and even Baldur's horse was shipped out to sea, believing that they would all serve him in the afterlife. On Odin's signal, the ship was set ablaze, indicating the start of Baldur's cremation and the end of his life. In the midst of all the drama, the gods forgot about Loki. However, after the funeral, they began to see and think clearly. Though sorrow still draped over Asgard like an eternal shroud, the gods turned their collective wrath towards Loki, the deceptive architect of Baldur's demise. In a divine tribunal that reverberated with celestial fury, Loki faced judgment for his treacherous deeds. Loki had offended the gods more than once. He stole Freya's necklace, cut Sif's hair, betrayed Thor, and now he offended all the gods as he caused the death of the most beloved god of them all, Baldur. His previous actions could have been forgiven, but the events involving Baldur was the last straw. The gods had finally had enough.
Not forgiven.
Embodying justice tempered with rage, the gods decreed a punishment befitting the severity of Loki's crimes. However, Loki managed to escape Asgard before the gods could find him. Transforming into a raven, he ventured north to the remote regions of Jotunheim to seek refuge. Unable to rid himself of his usual ways, Loki told the giants of Jotunheim that the time had come for them to build the ship Naglfar, a ship that was to sail to Asgard on the day of Ragnarok. The giants listened and began construction. However, this backfired on Loki and drew the attention of the gods. Loki then traveled to the fiery realm of Muspelheim, where he rejoiced with the fire giants, speaking about the loss of Freyr's sword and Tyr's right hand. This commotion once again caught the attention of the gods, and Loki fled to Midgard, the realm of men. This time, Loki decided to keep a low profile. He constructed a home by the river with 4 doors, one in each direction so that he could see and escape in any direction. Loki would also spend extended periods of time shape-shifting into a salmon to further avoid detection. For a period of time, Loki remained hidden from the eyes of the gods, hoping that they would forget about his crimes. However, he was not so lucky. The gods never stopped searching for him. Traversing through the 9 realms, they eventually came across Loki's.
Our police departments and CIA and FBI should be so vigilant
To go through 9 realms, right?
to keep on searching and
Other
never give up.
Right.
What do you think? What do you think about that,
All
Scott?
timelines.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre.
Oh wow! Hey, at least they, kept doing what they were doing. Didn't get off track.
That's true. That's true.
Hi, Rebecca. Glad you're back. Glad to see you. All right, here we go.
House by the river. As they approached from all 4 directions, Loki was ready and transformed himself into a salmon to escape. The chase once again resumed as the gods attempted to capture him using a net of their own. Loki managed to elude them numerous times, but in the end, Thor managed to grab hold of Loki's salmon tail and forced him to return to his true form. Loki was then taken to a cave and was bounded by unyielding chains meticulously forged by skilled dwarves. Above him rested a poisonous serpent, a gift from the giantess Skadi and wife of Njord. The serpent's venom would slowly but consistently drop onto Loki's eyes and face, forever torturing the mischievous god. However, Loki's wife, Sigyn, was the only one who cared for Loki. Although Loki had shown his evil ways, Sigyn still wept for him. Sigyn was a devoted wife and sat beside Loki while holding a bowl above his head. The bowl was meant to catch the venom from the serpent, but eventually the bowl would need to be emptied. In these moments, as she left his side to dispose of the venom, the ever-falling drops of venom would come in contact with Loki's face, causing him to writhe and shake in agony. It was believed that Loki's shaking would cause the earthquakes of Midgard. His punishment would echo through the annals of Norse mythology.
For a second, Brenda.
A reminder.
Okay.
Okay, so the story goes.
Uh-oh.
I'm echoing.
Yeah. Scott, turn your volume down just a little bit.
Okay. Got it?
Get in
No,
there.
still echo. Okay.
There you go.
A little better? Okay.
Yeah.
So the story goes that.
Hang on.
Still echoing.
Okay. Let me just mute him for a minute. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So the story goes that Loki gets bound by chains. Okay, the same story that they said happens to Azazel, that's mentioned in the Bible, that in the book of Enoch it says that the 200 watchers that came down, they captured the leader Azazel and they bound him with chains. Okay, and he was to be they this fallen angel was to be kept for like 1,000 years. Now the story goes that Loki is bound by chains, okay, for 1,000 years, and that his this this stuff that he's going through is going to cause great earthquakes on earth, to where he will break free, and so he will be loosed, just like the story about where it says that Satan is bound for 1,000 years and then he's going to be loosed for a short time. So this is the story of Loki. He as he's creating these earthquakes, he's going to get free. And people are saying, oh, the Antichrist is going to be revealed, or he's going to, because he's going to, and Azazel, this fallen angel, and it's so weird. All these stories literally are the same story, but they're different names, different people's telling it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And Scott, what do you think?
Well, I want to make a comment about, they have earthquake machines, so these elites are possessed, obviously, right? We all know that,
Right.
they're under the jurisdiction and the mind control of Satan. So, and these are like, everybody, all these people that run the world. So, these earthquakes or flooding or any kind of catastrophe is also could be. I always put stuff up in the shelf, but it could also be linked to their following, the agenda of this Loki,
I said the same thing to Suzy the other night.
True.
That they have the Bible, they have the books, they know the play, they know the game. So they
know the
plus, game. Okay, manifestation. All right. If there is enough people out there that are watching what is happening, and these people are making this happen, and everybody's going, oh my God, we're having all these earthquakes. This is demise.
Like a collective, like if you
thought process of everything.
Yeah, if we have these gifts from God, and then they can manipulate us to think the same way, we can actually manifest these things.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're doing. They're because they are, like Scott says, basically possessed by Satan. They are manipulating the world into believing, so that everybody, all they're seeing is devastation and not living happy and all that. So and it's also, people are praying, which is good, but when they're in the wrong process of some of the Bible study, because we all know that there has been changes made to our Bibles by men, by people that were not in the good of the Father. So I think that this whole thing that is going on right now is a lot of manipulation. What do you think, Scott?
Well, also, I wanted to add a little addendum to that. Prayer, as it puts a wedge in the, for example, this recent earthquake, all right, deal that happened out in Russia. So this was an alert put out, but what if, that people come on and they alert people from, and this is put out by the internet, but it's like our duty from God to put this information out. But what it does, it's a prayer that is sent out to stop if the adversary is using an earthquake machine to produce a tsunami or tidal wave, but we put this information out that how many times have we said, oh, that's a, like the day after or a couple of days after, oh, that's a nothing burger. Oh, that never happened. And
Right.
what if it really was that we sent this out, like Abe was saying, let's pray
Yes.
for this. Remember, he prayed, but what I'm saying is, the angelic realm is hearing that, so we're kind of part of this whole God's plan of minimizing or stopping the adversary's plans. So
Yes.
it's becoming, God's given us this awareness to put this thought, because prayer, manifesting prayer in your head,
Yep.
it's all true.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is all true. So I just wanted to add that in there a little bit about the, I kind of lost my train of thought, but it dovetails into a little bit what,
Yeah.
what the theme is.
Well, that's what, yeah. And that's what Susie had said when her and I were talking about it. Maybe those tsunamis were supposed to be bigger, but because people actually preyed on that, it reduced, and that is a good thing, So, all right, are we ready to go back to it? It's only got just a tad bit left.
Okay.
So we will go back to it.
Of a trickster who pushed his luck too far and played one too many tricks on the gods. And thus, the grand story of Baldur's life unfolded, a tale of divine radiance eclipsed by the shadows of trickery and fate. Asgard, once bathed in the eternal glow of its god of light, now bore the scars of profound loss. The gods, grappling with the consequences of their actions, found themselves entangled in the intricate web of destiny. Baldur's memory, a beacon dimmed but not forgotten, lingered as a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between joy and tragedy in the intricate realms of Norse mythology. The story etched into the very fabric of the cosmos, it stood as a pillar to the enduring nature of legends, resonating through the ages as a celestial hymn to the gods and mortals alike.
That was very, very, very interesting. And you are correct, Susie, that it does kind of tie everything together.
Yeah.
So I think that it's, you know what, I often thought this, and I'm gonna tell both of you. When I've listened to Scott speak over on Abe's channel, and I've listened to you, Susie, for a long time, and I always thought to myself, wow, he's like on this same track as Susie. And oh man, it was my machine again. Quiet. So when you popped up on my messenger, I was like, hey, this would be a good time to put Scott in here with Susie, because, I know you two can bounce off of each other big time, because you guys are like on the same path. So I thought this will be interesting. I like it.
And what's interesting too, Brenda, is
Go ahead.
I'm echoing.
Yeah, I had to mute him.
Okay, so what's interesting also is, guys, is that okay, so think about these fallen angels that were chained,
Right.
Azazel and all that, right? And they're chained in there and Satan is chained for 1,000 years or something, and Loki's chained, and so the earth is quaking, right, or whatever, and it breaks the chains. And then they talked about in the Bible how the Euphrates River would dry up, and then these demonic things were going to come from that, out of the earth, because they're going to break free from whatever the prison that they've been bound to by the angels. I mean, that's all like the same stories, just told with different names, different times.
Right. Do you want to put something in that there, Scott?
No, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, it's, God's running the show here. There's a time God's on it, got his own time schedule on this. And, we're just kind of we're looking in from the outside and, being kind of the children of light that are witnessing, and using these platforms as, as just uh, I guess, it's as debating and agreeing
And
and
learning, doing a lot of
learning
learning.
all
Yeah.
these things. I mean, nobody knows all this stuff, but we're so thirsty for the mythologies, because there's a lot of exactly what we're talking about tonight. These parallel uh, things that are exactly the same, but they're just using different people, different religious areas. So it's really cool. That's I always. I mean, anybody that's likes to. I mean, I've always been kind of a person like never following the norm. Is always like whatever came my way, it's like I'd be interested in it. So you put stuff up on a shelf, but it's so fun,
Right.
to
Yeah.
learn, all these different things, like, and then be so, what's the word, iconoclastic, or what's that word, like you're so weird, like like you want to learn all these different things and be so open-minded. There's some word for that, I forget. I took vocabulary in college, like 4 credits. It was like a really hard course, but it was in Latin too. They had a lot of Latin prefixes and stuff. But what I'm trying to get to is that's why we're here. I mean, we have to pat ourselves on the shoulder, saying like, we're doing something that the normies are not doing,
Right.
and we could be the leaders, in the next world that
Yeah.
comes about. We never know.
Right. And we all, and it upsets me when people get on that level where they, have to argue with each other, because honestly, we can all learn from each other, and it is great when everybody can get along and learn from each other, and have that open mind to expand a little bit and learn something different that you may not have known. you know I found out something tonight about sage and burning sage. Okay, this is what I found out. I found out that when you burn sage, it depletes bacteria in the air, and it's got to be white
Huh.
sage. Yeah. And I thought to myself, huh, I can see that. And so, yeah. So I found that out tonight, never even knew. And I have sage, and I've done that, and I've had to do smudging. Sometimes I do that, and a blessing and everything else when I move into a new place, because you don't know what was in there before you were. So, but I found out that the good thing about it is it depletes bacteria in the
Probably gets it out of your blood too when you put it in your food. Yeah.
maybe, maybe. So, all right, Susie, what else you want to pop to? Pop.
Okay, so let's go to number 4.
Oh
We'll
God.
skip 3 because we'll come back to 3 because that's actually about
2,
Thor.
3,
So we're gonna go
4.
to, the time says 4:51. You see that?
Okay,
So
so
this is about
this.
Odin. Now
Okay.
Odin is interesting this, okay, here's some interesting things that I noticed about Odin. Okay, Odin, it says that Odin um, is looking for wisdom, and in the Gnostic stuff, it said that Sabaoth the good, or Jehovah Sabaoth the good, um, listened to Sophia wisdom and learned about Christ and all that, right? And so it said that he rejected his father, who was known as Satan, right? Um, and so it, what I find interesting about that is that Odin goes to the well of wisdom, and he gives his eye, okay, for wisdom. Now, the story of Sabaoth, Jehovah Sabaoth, going to wisdom to get wisdom. See, and so another thing that's weird for me is the Hollywood elite, who is Hollywood is mistletoe. Okay,
Right.
it's the same thing. It's a parasitic plant. Hollywood, holly, and mistletoe are the same thing. So in Hollywood, in the mistletoe land, their biggest thing is they cover one eye. Okay, Odin gave one eye, and I've always heard and understood that the reason that they cover one eye is they're mocking Odin, because Odin gave up his eye for wisdom. Okay, so they say, how wise were you? You still lost your son. You still, you know what I mean? Rather, they sacrificed their sons, they sacrificed their family. Odin would give up his eye to save his son, is the difference. But they mock him, and that's why they cover their eye. That's what, it's a mockery.
Yeah.
That's what I've
Yep.
heard.
Yes. I actually,
Yeah.
did you know that, Scott? About the,
No, but I'm looking up something. Something came to my mind about the Bible has something about, a couple things about that eye, like something like, sin, like people that, like accuse you, and it has something like, well,
Or if your eye offends you, pluck it out.
You're right. Yeah, something about like, you know, uh, I have a toothpick in my eye, but then you have a 2x4 in your eye. I'm just giving that kind of a metaphor
right.
kind of thing. But then it also says something about, there's some scripture regarding that too. I'm just, bringing that up as a parallel to, to the subject matter.
Right. So, do you want to watch this one on Odin, Suzy?
Yes, it'll be the number 4.
Yeah. I think I got it. I think I got the right one. I'm learning.
Okay.
All right, let's pop it out here. Come on, get up there. That one, right? Yes.
Well, I'll know once it starts for sure.
Okay.
They say the old gods are gone. But what if Odin never left? In Norse mythology, Odin wasn't just the All-Father, he was a wanderer. Legends say he roamed the world disguised as a hooded traveler, searching for wisdom and testing mankind. But here's the strange part: for centuries, people have reported sightings of a mysterious one-eyed man. In 1941, a Norwegian soldier claimed a cloaked stranger warned him of an ambush, then vanished. In 1997, a Swedish hiker met an old man who spoke ancient Norse and knew impossible things. And in 2023, security cameras in Iceland caught a figure in a cloak, with a raven on his shoulder. Myths say Odin will return for Ragnarok. But what if he never left? Have you ever seen a strange, one-eyed man? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Interesting.
Now I know that is interesting, because I met somebody that lives up in here, East Texas, that said that he was at a gas station and a one-eyed man came and said some things to him, and he believes it was Odin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had some very interesting things to tell him.
He was on a motorcycle, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find what you were looking for, Scott?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right
So
now.
Hang on. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Susie.
The video is the one that was just before that one, but that was another good one. I mean, it's
Oh, well, crap.
because there
Eh,
was two of Odin, so there's a few of them. So they're just short ones, but yeah.
well,
So the one just before that one.
hang on.
Okay.
Because one before that is a podcast. Three guys. So is it the one after that, maybe?
Well, is it a short one or is it?
Yeah, it's a short reel.
Yeah, that's it. That's the podcast. Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, wait a minute. No, the podcast isn't a short reel. I don't know. Let me look. Let me look. Hang on. Let me look. Okay, there's that
Yeah, it
one.
is. It's a short one. It's a real short one.
Okay.
It's very short. It's a short podcast. It's like a short little thing that they say. It's really, yeah.
All right. Okay. Here we go. I'll play it. Let me put it up here.
Okay.
I get so confused when you send me so many. I'm confused enough on my own. All right. Ready?
We're talking a little earlier about Odin hanging himself on a tree for 9 days. And the reward from hanging himself on a tree for 9 days is that he gains wisdom and gains the runes. And then you think about, all right, well, on the broader context of Norse mythology, there's 9 realms. So he's on there for 1 day for each realm. All right, how does that tie back to Christ? Is that, well, he died once for all, not only us that believe, but also for the whole world. And that whole world is, I think in Greek, I don't know how to say it, but holos cosmos, as in all the realms. So it's like this, whether the story of Odin predates Christ or postdates Christ, it's still pointing to Christ. Now, it's not syncretism, as in we're going, oh, well, Odin is Christ. That's not what I'm doing. That's not the connection we're trying to make. Is that, as Hebrews 1 puts it, God spoke in many diverse ways to many people, but in these last days, He spoke through His Son. He was revealed by the Son. That's what we need to view: is that things change over time, and there is some truth hidden in all mythology, and it takes a wise man to draw that out.
Oh, well,
That's it. Yeah.
that was interesting. What do you think about that one, Scott?
Well, that research I was just trying to get to is there's a Bible verse in there. It says, I mean, you guys can look this up yourself, which dovetails with what we're talking about. It says something like, if one of your eyes sin, pluck it out, and it's better to go into heaven with one eye than it is with two eyes and you go to hell.
Oh.
So this Odin guy, he's got one eye, so he's going, he's of the heavenly realm, and he's going into heaven. So, again, it just like the gentleman saying, in the video you just brought up, that these things are paralleling the same, Christ,
Narrative.
paralleling the same story, basically, but it's using this mythology as kind of it's a screen. It's like a camouflage where, you gotta read between, you gotta do your research. You gotta look, you gotta get in there and start researching and looking through, it's a veil that's been covered up. And this mythology is it's all in there. And it's just, you just have to sort out, because people, they just don't have the patience to look into this stuff.
Right.
You have to cross-reference. You have to, you have to have 4 or 5 books on your table. And, you go to sleep. You might have a dream like, okay, what page to turn to? You wake up. God will lead you to to the page, you turn it and oh my God, or a week later, you said, oh my gosh, that's where it's at. Or you look at the page and it's like, you never saw that page in your life. You looked at it like 10 times and all of a sudden the 11th time you see it's so different. It's so clear then that you never, you never knew that. It was right in your face, but you couldn't identify the words,
Right.
So yeah, I tell you, there's a lot of mysterious stuff going on.
Yeah, and Susie and I, a lot of times with us, we do the same thing. She'll and there's been times where she'll just be awake walking around and she'll just ask Father God to give her an answer, or show her what she needs to do, or tell her what she should be doing, and she gets her answers a lot. So or her and I do dreams. It's with me, if something's a true dream to me, it's something that's going to come true, I've got to have those dreams 3 consecutive times. By the third one, I know for sure something's going to happen. So I'm sorry, I tried to choke myself with water. But so we go back and forth and do this all the time.
There's an echo.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's just I know, Scott, you use a laptop, right? Or do you have an actual computer? Wait, let me unmute you.
The mute, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, I don't touch anything, right?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, yeah, you control everything. That's fine. I didn't know what to do here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Suzy, now the next one is the birth of Midgard. Is that the one you want to see real quick?
I think so. Is that number 6? It's at 5:15. The time when I sent it. Don't look like it. Number 6.
I think
it would have
so.
been after, because you showed 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you showed 4, and then 5. You showed 5 and then 4, so it'd be 6. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So this is a short. Okay.
All right. I've got that one up. Let me bring it in. La la la.
Odin is known as the All Father, which he's the father of all the gods. Yeah.
All right. That's
Odin, Vili, and V were the ones who created the world. They killed Ymir, the first ice giant, and from his body, they quite literally created the world. This was how a new yet uninhabited world came into being. The gods named this place Midgard, which is often translated as Middle Earth. To protect it, they built a wall around Midgard. So, Odin, Vili, and V were the ones who created the world.
okay. So that was a rerun. That was a repeat. So Scott, didn't they? Oh, hang on a second. Didn't now Scott or Suzy, really? Now, isn't there a part where it talks about how the plane we live on, people say that we actually live on giants? So
yeah, the body of dead giants are
yeah. So wouldn't that pertain to basically the same thing?
So Odin, the Allfather, him and his 2 brothers, Vili and V. Now you got to the Norse story says that first there was Burli, and then Bor, and then Odin and his brothers, Vili and V. So those 3 killed Ymir, the giant, and then from his body created the earth, or Midgard, made the earth, and then put a border around it, put a firmament over it, or dome, which took the skull cap, and then the clouds are his mind, and this is where, and then they have their own heaven. Okay, the gods do. There's 9 different realms. Okay, well, that's the same story as Jehovah. Jehovah said he made the earth. Now it also says Odin made the first 2 humans. So Odin is the god, the original god that, and then if you go into the Greek mythology, you have Uranus, Kronos, who tries to eat his children.
Suzy. All right. So Scott, you want to say anything about that?
Well, I want Suzy to address that question. You can tell her when she gets back that the mind of God is in the clouds. Ask her, I want to hear a little bit more about that if she has more information on that.
Okay. Suzy, you're back now. Did you heard Scott's question?
Okay, so this giant Ymar, that they killed this giant, from his body, the material body, they created the earth, and his mind became the clouds. Okay. So, and I had a very weird experience. I know Abe tells weird stories, but this was a weird story. I literally, was speaking and praying and wanted to know what really happened between Odin, Vili, and Ve and Ymar, this giant, this frost giant, this big giant. And why did they actually slay this giant? And so I was asking that question, and this huge, I don't even know, like gust of wind came, and it literally rocked my whole house when I said that. And I felt like the spirit or the soul of Ymar scared the poodoo out of me, okay? Like literally. Okay. I'm like, whoa, what was that? Because it literally, I was sitting on the couch and it hit. And so when I went back and I traced that storm where it came from, okay, it went all the way back to the Norse country where it was like a whirlwind like this, and it spun off and it ended up slamming into my house. And it came from the land where they killed the giants. And I'm like, you can't make this stuff up, but I'm just saying there is more things in the dark or that go bump in the night than what people realize that's really out there. Okay. There are disembodied beings, okay, that are in our world, and that, they're there. They're real, they're there, they're tangible. Some have bodies, some don't. Some shapeshift, some can take form. I'm just saying this stuff gets really bizarre, but that actually, because if we had giants in the Bible, said so in the Bible. It says when the sons of God looked upon the women of men, there were Nephilim or giants, Rephilim and Nephilim. And then it talks about a giant named Og in the Bible, and it talks about Goliath in the Bible, and then it talks about Caleb and the children of Israel that were with Moses went into their promised land, and they saw these giants that made them look like grasshoppers. So there were giants before the flood and after the flood. So giants have never been in question that they exist. They're supposedly a hybrid, according to the book of Enoch and the Bible story, is that these gods slept with humans, which was not supposed to happen. And as a result, these giants were born. These giants, and in these stories about these giants have this ability to, as they devour and they eat more, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then if they don't eat, and they begin to shrink and shrink. And so this is how giants were able to mate with humans, because they can shrink and grow. So I mean, that's all kind of in the Bible even. So it's it's so weird because it's in all these stories too. And so this is what Odin, Vili, and Ve, they killed Ymar, this giant, and then from his body we're literally living on the body of we're living on the giant's bodies. And if I don't know if you ever met or saw, what is that guy that he does fossils and stuff, and he has found so many giants and so many, like rock giants that have been petrified, all over
Yeah.
the earth. Huge giants, because there was they had to kill a lot in Jotunheim, I think in Norse. There was this stories where they had, the Ragnarok, the beginning of Ragnarok was when they were trying to kill all the giants, so there's lots and lots of stories about, battles with giants. Yeah. It's crazy stuff. Crazy, I
Um,
tell you.
yeah. And you know, people say about finding like dinosaur bones, and I honestly am to believe that I don't think that there was ever dinosaurs. I think that was a look over here and not over here type thing, because it doesn't ever talk about dinosaurs in the Bible. Nobody spoke about dinosaurs until like the 1800s. Um, I think that if they found
Like
anything, what they
dragons
did
and
find was dragon bones, because even the Bible talks about dragons.
but
What do you think?
Brenda,
Yeah,
look at like, okay, look at like the wolf man and these creatures and the Bigfoots, and a lot of these, they're very large creatures, a lot of these,
yes,
okay? So I'm saying it could be any cross between anything. If you go back into the Egyptian stuff, you see bird heads, and you see, creatures with bird heads, you see creatures with, you see, I mean,
the
Pan
cat
in the Bible
heads,
was a half goat, half human.
right?
Now, they claim that he was the son of Zeus the tyrant, because there's two Zeuses. There was Zeus the father and Zeus Sabaoth the good. So that's what I'm thinking with Odin. His father was not good, kind of like Kronos, was not good. But then, or there's Zeus the tyrant, and then there's Zeus the good. It's really gets weird when you start looking into the Greek mythology, the Norse mythology, and the biblical stories of these giants and these gods, and everything starts like making a little more sense as far as how weird everything is. And then you look at stuff that all these demons that are running around, and the different
Right,
shaped demons there are, and the different shaped monsters that are out there, and the things that we see, that come from the hybrid of, like with Loki, he was creating a lot of monsters. Like he had a son that was a wolf man. Okay, he had another one that was the serpent. And then Helen was half rotting flesh, half beautiful. She rules hell. So his children were these monstrous type beings, and he was from a frost giant. Loki was. He was not related to Odin.
right. Now
So
let's get some insight on this from Mr. Scott.
Well, that
That's
Deuteronomy 2:20, there's a word called Zamzumin, and it's a big study on the giants. On we're talking like, we're talking before Adam and Eve. When the Old Testament is talking, you know, they're referencing a world before Adam and Eve.
mhm.
So the Zazuman, not that I'm an expert on that, I was just looking it up again because when I first got into this Bible, I was looking at the index of the glossary, look at supernatural stuff, not the jargon of genealogies and oh my
right.
God, how boring can you get? It's like I want to get down to the supernatural stuff. When they're talking about giants, I'm going like that's me, man. I got to get into that stuff. So you have to look at. But yeah, in the stones, yeah, they have from high topography definition cameras. Google Maps. You go on Google Map Live, you can get our software. You see all kinds of monsters that are all in stone.
Yes.
They're mountains, but they're actually they're dragons that are thousands of feet long.
Right?
I mean, God, unbelievable. So this plane of Earth that we're on got to be billions of years old. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, that's a lot of years, right? But there's many
But
civilizations,
what is
and
time? Yeah.
you
What
know,
is time? We don't, I don't
yeah,
think we understand what time really is, do we?
yeah. But
Yeah.
there's all these giants and stuff. The Bible, it just gives you kind of like it's like Cliff Notes. It just gives you really a brief, history,
Yeah.
on certain things, and it puts stuff like a puzzle. They take stuff from the Old Testament, they put it in the New Testament, and then the New Testament, you got to go back to the Old Testament. It's all mixed up. It's like, making a
It
cake.
is.
You're throwing in all kinds of different stuff. Cranberries and other stuff. And you have to just look at all this stuff, and it's all mixed up. But the fun part of it is it's there, and you have to recognize that it's all kind of mixed up, and you have to just kind of like start siphoning stuff out, and doing all your research, on all these different elements that are in the cake mix. I'm just using that as an example, but it's it's
It's a good
fascinating.
example. Yeah. Great example.
So now, like me, I have a regular study Bible that has Old and New Testament. I have a Geneva Bible. I have got Book of Enoch, one of the books of Enoch. I've got the Ethiopian Bible, and I'll do that when I'm looking at certain things. I will have books spread out, and I will reference from one to the other and the difference in what it says, and then try to decipher what the difference is. Because I learned a long time ago, growing up, when I was young, my family was Catholic, and I could never understand. I thought going to church was always a family thing, but what the church showed me was they would put all the men in the middle, the wives behind a plastic over here, and the children behind a plastic over here. So we
Not
weren't,
very friendly.
yeah, so we weren't together. And as I grew up and learned more about the Catholic, I knew, well, maybe this isn't for me. So I went from Catholic to Baptist, Baptist to Christian, and there was still something missing. And then one day I seen a video that Jesus never prayed or preached in a building. It was wherever he was, on a mountain, in the desert, by the water, and I thought to myself, I don't have to be in a church to believe in God the Father or Jesus Christ. I don't have to be. I can be in my home. I could be in my car. I could be out on the street taking a walk and learn. So I just started getting different books and started reading different things and comparing them and breaking certain things down. And that made more sense to me than anything that I ever tried to learn in a church anywhere, So it made more sense to me. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, totally agree with you 100%. I mean, I went to college 4 years. What did I learn? I was in a church of academia, right? So I got called out of that. I just left it. One day I came home. I was watching TV, 500 Club or something. I'm going like, oh, this guy, he's making sense. Not that it's a Bible related thing, but what did I learn? 4 years of college, in buildings, in academia, nothing.
Yeah.
It's all, and it's all coming out now. It's all Rockefeller. It's all pre-programming. The game. All this education comes from Germany. All this educational. Get under your desk. The bomb is going to blow up. The atomic bomb. All that stuff, man. It's all from Germany. It's all the German. English educational is all from Germany.
Crown.
And you know, Germany, you know, is one of the hot spots of, you know, education and, you know, inventions and that sort of thing. But that whole philosophy, you know, was translated to America, you know, through Rockefeller. And but getting back to, I wanted to kind of pin Suzy on this question about the mind of God in the clouds. Is there anything else you would like to share, or you know anything about that? That really
Well,
intrigues me a lot.
I did read where Freya, Odin's uh, wife, she made comments about the clouds and the thoughts, and what the thought they would clouds are have something to do with thoughts. So I think I wasn't really sure. I have to go back and find that, but I thought it was real intriguing that if you took the material of this giant and then you created our whole world, right? But his thoughts were the clouds. Um, then the clouds could actually like form into different people's faces or things we would see in the clouds, or we could be shown things in the cloud if we, I'm saying God could use those clouds like thoughts, or
Yeah, it's kind of like a archetype, because when you look at when you're researching in the Bible, Brenda, too, you know, you can look through those Bibles too, and the indexes and stuff. That was one of the things I like magnified, zoomed into, like this because it says in the Bible, you know, God will come in a cloud, you know, and you
oh
know, all these references
yeah,
of clouds, and it's fascinating. It's really fascinating that, um, you know, I start, you know, and it's something to do with faith and all these other words. But you know, going back to the story, what you're telling, Suzy, about, you know, the Norse mythology too, that, you know, it's bringing that into the picture too. So there's a correlation between the mind of God using, you know, because I have some epiphanies regarding that subject matter, and I mean, maybe later I could share that later, or some pictures and
yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, there is a lot of, you know, photography showing different things on clouds, but I have a different take on all that. But when you're speaking the mind of God, the mind, you know, let's break that down. You know, I think that's very important to find out, and I'm going to do some research that on myself. Um, since you brought that up, that's why I'm just trying to pin you down. Like, you know, what else do you know about this? Because to me, it's super important.
You know, hang on, let me say something, but let me mute you. I'm echoing now. So, you know, I found sometimes it's really strange, like when you're sitting outside and you're having a peaceful day, and you'll look up in the clouds and you'll see clouds that resemble like a dog face, you know,
Yeah,
a puppy or a rabbit. But, you know, there's been things that people see in clouds, like different shapes, like a UFO, or, you know, different things like that. So is that something telling us things that the clouds trying to tell us something,
I think
you know?
so. I think we can get messages. I have taken pictures. I have a bunch of pictures that I've taken of the clouds. One, it's an eyeball. I've took a
Right.
picture of that. Right. I took another one where the clouds made a word called Sika. It meant peaceful summer. And it has it. They even dotted the I, and it's got the sun setting, and it's this beautiful picture with the word in the clouds. And I took this one picture. It looks like Jesus's face looking down over my ranch. And I mean, I have gotten the most amazing things in the clouds. I've seen, like, it's just, yeah, it's just, I look up and I'll go, oh, what, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a guy, his name is Carl Jung, Jung, does a big study on that. The archetype mind, this cloud, he's got a whole study on this cloud. And again, looking at the Bible, in the references, and you get that Strong's Concordance or whatever. I can't remember the book, but I worked at a church, and I would have these books, and like the time that I wasn't doing anything, I'd be researching those words, specific words that were in the supernatural, part of it, the Bible. I wasn't concerned with anything else. But there is something, they mentioned that whole, um, I mean, if you just like, yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's
You
kind
know,
of, so I just want to mention that guy's name, that Carl Jung. It was like one of these big researchers in that. And, I don't know if the guy was secular or not. I can't remember. But a lot of those researchers, they're secular, but they bring this stuff out not knowing maybe, God is using those people to,
right?
later in life, for us to put the puzzle together.
Well, now that you're talking about the clouds and stuff, aren't we all Christians saying we're looking for Jesus to return in the clouds? Didn't it say that he was taken up into the clouds, into the sky? He was taken. And we know that, I mean, it's interesting. Clouds cloak ships and things in the sky, but we're also referencing it as connecting it to God. Like we're looking, and we're always looking up, like heaven is up here, like in the clouds. You know what I mean? And we're looking and waiting for something or anticipating something in the clouds.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I used to travel a lot on airplanes, and they're up to like 28,000 feet, right? So you're looking down, especially, it's pretty interesting when you do cross like Texas, because my folks, they live in like on the East Coast. So, you're traveling over Texas, and it's flat, but the clouds are like these puffy clouds, right? So you're above the clouds looking down. So, you're looking down on the clouds. What's really interesting, if you've ever noticed this, or take a look if you do, is it seems to be like the bottom of the cloud is like it's sheared off, like it's squared off on the bottom, and
Weird.
the top is kind of like puffy, but it's like, and you look at the shadows of the clouds on the ground. Now again, you're up to like 28,000 feet on the airplane, but you look at these clouds and it looks fake. I mean, it is fake. I mean, this
Wow.
stuff is beyond, and I was always I was always trying to like look at, okay, could I find the same, like it's like a ticker tape. Could I find the same kind of cloud, you know, 300 miles away, the same pattern or the same, and I never did, but that'd be an interesting, research project, to take film of clouds and see if you see the same, manifestation of the same cloud. But I noticed like on the bottom, because when you're flying, when you're looking down, it's kind of, you see an edge on the bottom of the cloud, like it's like, now when you're looking up, you're just seeing, maybe you're not seeing that squat, you're not seeing the bottom of the cloud. You're just seeing that puffy as we perceiving it, at that angle. But we're just looking at this cloud, and it's a cumulus cloud, which are those puffy ones. But when you're looking down on the cloud, you see this. It's like it's flat on the bottom. I can't describe it. It's like really weird, but it's like fake. Like these are like some kind of
Scott,
something weird going on.
if so, it was said that the clouds are the mind of Yamar the giant. So what is a mind but thoughts, like fleeting thoughts?
Uh,
You know, so it would seem kind of fake, I guess, if you think of what is a thought in our head. It kind of comes and goes like a cloud, right? Forms in we get these thoughts in our head and they form, I mean, what is a thought?
Well, hang on. I think that I lost my thought. Oh no, here it
Fleeting
is.
cloud, a fleeting
Here it
cloud.
is.
Yeah.
Here it is. I don't think that I have seen an actual real cloud for quite some time, to tell you the truth. And there is a machine that does make them, but
Yes.
they do that for the seedings, for the rain, for
Yeah.
this, that. But I'm going to say probably almost about 4 years. I don't think I have seen an actual, real, puffy, beautiful, cotton candy looking cloud in a long time.
But think about this too, and talking about clouds, and we're talking about thoughts, and you have clouds out there that are dark and scary, and then you have clouds that have lightning coming out of it. And so what is that? Is that when you're projecting your thoughts and the lightning is striking, or and maybe you're thinking dark thoughts, and then brings these terrible storms? And I mean, there's the other flip side to the nice little white fluffy thoughts.
You mean like heat lightning?
Lightning?
No, like you see lightning and in the clouds and striking the ground, and it's like somebody who's angry. You know.
Well, getting back to, I'm just going to make a comment what Brenda said. Well, I moved to Arizona in '98, and they had puffy clouds, and that's when I started to see this chemtrail program going on, that the trails were being laid from the southwest, and it would diagonally project from the southwest. The trails, they would go from the southwest to the northeast in that in that direction, not east to west, but diagonally. And I noticed that all those cumulus clouds, all that disappeared after all that chemtrail started. And those types of clouds you don't see them anymore. Now, this is in the state. Now, I'm just saying they could occur in different parts of the state. I'm not saying that, but what I've noticed that this operation that they've been doing since I started looking at it in '98, that I saw like 100% reduction in natural looking. Well, of course, I'm going to eat my
What we
hat.
think is natural, right? From chemtrails
yeah,
to.
I mean, I would mention those clouds for, the previous conversation I was mentioning about the clouds, but that's what I remember. Like, these cumulus clouds. I mean, I have a lot of science background in college, studied all earth science, physical, all this kind of stuff, but I don't see those anymore. And I think I believe this project that they were doing is from the adversary producing to destroy God's creation naturally, doing either artificial cloud cover, poisons. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's so much information out there. They're passing bills in Florida now to ban chemtrailing and stuff, but no one believed me, when I tell my folks and everything. But I can tell you this, I flew through that stuff in Texas.
I believe you.
The airplane came down, and that turbulence in that was like, it was like we were flying through turbulent atmospheric stuff. whatever it was, and it's not. And that was through, because the pilot said, we're going to descend, and I'm going, he's not saying what we're descending into, but I knew, and this is just not, this is nationwide. This is everywhere, man, everywhere. And we flew through that stuff, and the plane was like, da, 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 like that. And I knew, like, there is something physical in this chemtrail mix that's producing this turbulence on the airplane.
Wow.
And because the guy said, well, we have to get below this cloud level. And like we were above it, like maybe 28,000. And like I'm saying, I'm traveling from Arizona to North Carolina. So it's a straight shot, that goes, down through Texas, Louisiana, all that, and, but the guy is like, he's getting down below that. And like we were above it. But what I'm saying is those cumulus clouds, I never saw those again unless, you're out somewhere else, in a different area. And I've seen that, but I'm just saying in highly populated areas, or it's not real. I can't even say highly populated. It's all. But it started, I started researching it in 1998. So here it is, 2025. It's still going on. Still going on.
And it just made me think about all these weird things that are happening physically to all these airplanes now. It's like overwhelming amount of, accidents to these planes. Something physical keeps happening to them.
You know what it is? It's I got into that industry. I was, I'm going to use the word ramp rat. You saw those people out there scurrying around. That was me. It's privatization. They're subcontracting out. They don't, a lot of them are not becoming union anymore. There could be, other technologies. And so they're keeping this old game going, but these airplanes are built cheaper. They're using cheaper parts, and it's all being outsourced out. These parts, I used to work import-export agent, one of these jobs, and it depends on what factory these parts are coming out of, like the parts coming out of Taiwan, or as opposed to China, it's a whole different ballgame. The part, it could be a toy, it could be an electronic part. They're all different. So these Boeing, Pratt and Whitney, these conglomerates that import these parts, because I'll be honest with you, U.S. had exported all their factories out of this country in the late 70s. So nothing's like made here. So these parts are they can be defective. They only last for 5 years. I mean, look at everything. Your computer, you got to get rid of it every 10 years or something. Just so software just breaks down and stuff. And you could, in the old days, the old refrigerators made by General Electric, made in the 40s or the 50s, they lasted forever, and people still have them now, and they still have them in their garage.
Right.
Well, I think that on top of things being made a little cheaper, you think of it like this. You have a cheap engine on an airplane, and it is flying through these clouds, which are filled with aluminum, plastic. These engines are getting all of that in there. So, of course, after a few years, they're going to be worthless, really.
Having problems, yeah.
But getting back to the clouds, I like to stay on this topic that there is something magical about
clouds.
Take the time out, get your lounger out, put your blue blocker sunglasses or your Varnays or whatever, ski glasses or something that that take out the UV rays and so forth. And there's a lot of stuff you see besides the clouds, but these puffy clouds are just so they're really enjoyable to see. Growing up, seeing this kind of these clouds. It was like, you know, in the blue sky and these clouds. It just looked so, you know, so neat. You know, not
That's
now.
interesting. Yeah.
You know, not now. It's just the skies over us. Let's say Phoenix, Arizona. It's a sickening. It's like a fog that's up in the air. When I lived out in California, the fog would come in every day in Santa Cruz, California, or San Francisco. It comes in every day at like 3:30. Turns a beautiful day into a looks like London, England. You know, with the fog coming in, and you know, it's almost like Jack the Ripper's gonna, you know, walk out of somewhere. You know, I mean, it's awful, and that's what the sky looks like. It's awful
Yeah.
looking. It's
There's
sickening.
a lot of things, bad energies creating bad things in our world. You know, even
Yeah.
messing up the clouds. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so you can see that's in the adversary. You know, the adversary is fighting against God's creation. You know,
Yeah.
God didn't want these chemtrails and, you know, the technology and wherever they're getting it from. You know, where's the natural? It hasn't rained in Phoenix since '98, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
What?
it's like it rains a little bit, but when I moved, they used to have these things called haboos, which are these, you know, these super rain cell storms.
Monsoon.
And I moved here. They had them in '98, but after '98, zero.
Yep.
Now there's a lot of population, but even like this year, there's been no rain this year. And again, it's the adversary is, you know, using this technology, and it's beyond
Destroy
overtime.
the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beyond. And to be honest with you, is I remember the rain coming down in '98. The raindrops were. I lived in Florida. It rains every day there, but here, when that rain came, the drops were like almost 2 inches in diameter. I never saw that heavy type of rain come down. And then after '98, '99 onwards, zero.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Well,
And
Brenda?
this year hasn't been any rain at all. None. So
Are you ready to start that the last of
Yes.
the videos? Okay.
Okay. So, now go to number 7 because this is kind of interesting.
I'm going there.
Okay. Yeah.
I am a going. Here we go.
It should take us right from what we're talking about right into the weird.
That's the right one, right?
Is it number 7?
I think so. How
Okay.
Odin created man in Viking religion?
I think it's one before that.
No. What?
That's number. I don't know what number was. What was the time frame on that one? 5.
No, we're not watching that one. Then
Okay, it
we
was
have-
after that short where he created. I think number 6 where he created the world. Yeah.
All
And
right,
then
so
number
that
7.
would be this one. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, that's the same one.
Okay. Well, maybe it is it.
All right. Well, let's try it. Hang on.
Let's see what you got. If it's not it, we'll go to the next one.
We'll see what we got.
Okay.
We'll see what we got.
What do we got?
Walking along the primordial shore, Odin and his brothers came upon 2 logs washed up by the sea. From these, they fashioned Ask and Embla, the first man and woman. The gods gave Midgard to man as his home. For themselves, they took the central domain, the celestial kingdom of Asgard. While walking along the primordial shore, Odin and his brothers came...
Is that supposed to be the rendition of Adam and Eve?
That's Adam and Eve, and that's God making Adam and Eve. And that's what I'm saying. They're saying Odin, the All-Father, the father of all the gods, and the God who created this earth and made humans. That's Odin, who's also, we know as Jehovah. Sabaoth, which is very bizarre.
Oh. So the
I don't know.
next one was
We
Odin
want to go to the one before
actually
that one.
an
You want to go to the
ancient
one just
alien?
before that one. Yeah,
Oh, the one before that one.
just before that one.
Okay, then that would be the birth of the Midgard.
No, I don't think so. I think,
Yeah, that's the one that's before the last one we just watched.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, okay? Can go after number 8. Maybe I wrote something wrong on here. We'll go to the next one.
Okay.
See what it. Maybe I had it switched around or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Possibly.
know.
That's what happens when you send too many.
I'm trying to watch and write numbers down.
You
Yeah.
get confused.
I know.
Don't blame me. All right, here we go.
Okay. I don't know which one.
Giroux suggested that blonde, blue-eyed aliens came to Earth long ago and created the Nordic and Celtic races.
In some versions of the ancient astronaut theory, the space aliens are super white people who came from the sky and were responsible for all of the good things that happened to white people.
Both Giroux and von Daniken were deeply influenced by another book, first published in French in 1960 by 2 occult investigators, The Morning of the Magicians.
Morning of the Magicians, in a very attractive package, essentially said that. It said everything you know about science and history, it's wrong. There's no evidence yet of extraterrestrial intelligence. No, that's wrong. The ancient civilizations developed on their own. They said, no, that's wrong. Something else is going on.
Giroux.
So, there's
There
that
you
one.
go. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. That was the ET, perspective of,
Wow.
of
So-
everything we've been told is wrong. Yeah.
Well, yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that brings up a book. I don't know if you know this guy. He wrote a book called Everything You Know Is Wrong by, I think his last name is Pyle, Pyle. I forget his first name, but this was like back in I don't know, 2000 or something like that. But yeah, chime that in. It's true. Everything you know is wrong.
Everything you know
I
is
know,
wrong.
and you just can't tell anybody that. So the other one is the mystery of Asgard in the Bible. You want to play that one?
Is that the next one? Okay.
Yes.
Play the next one. We'll see if I'm all messed up over here or whatever.
We're all messed up over here.
Oh no, right. Figure it out.
Makes it more fun.
Okay.
Azazel is this most curious character in the Bible. He's only ever mentioned once in this entire book, and there's zero explanation as to who or what he even is. So today, my question is, who even is Azazel? Well, the holiest day of the Jewish year is called the Day of Atonement, and in Leviticus 16, it gives them these mysterious instructions for this strange ritual. This whole ritual would cleanse them of their sins. On that day, the people of Israel must send Azazel a scapegoat. They would take these 2 male goats. One would be sacrificed to God, as the other would be sent into the wilderness. But more specifically, it was sent to Azazel. And this is where it gets really weird, because the only place where I can find the reason for why they did this is in this story called the Book of Enoch. It's not officially considered scripture, but it's this ancient story that goes over the history of fallen angels. It explains how 200 angels had rebelled against God. One of these angels was named Azazel. Now, Azazel was this most nefarious fallen angel. He taught humanity all these different secrets and technologies, including the metals of the earth and the beautifying of the eyelids. He taught man how to make swords, knives, and shields, which ultimately led to wars and chaos. So when God saw how much sin and violence had increased in the world, he finally decides to punish these angels, which is actually mentioned in Jude 1:6. They've been chained in darkness until the day of judgment. One of these angels is specifically Azazel. And this is where it all starts to connect.
According to Enoch, God literally said, "To Azazel ascribe all sin."
Which won't make sense until you finally read Leviticus 16, where this ritual scapegoat is sent to Azazel. See, a scapegoat is someone who is blamed for the faults of others. And Azazel, metaphorically, is that scapegoat who is ascribed all sin. So when the Israelites sent away that second goat, it was literally them transferring their sins onto the appointed scapegoat, Azazel. Only this wouldn't last forever, because eventually these two goats would be replaced by a single lamb, the Lamb of God himself, who takes away the sins of the world. Azazel.
So, well, now that makes a little bit of sense.
So the reference of this, fallen angel being chained in the earth, and then he's going to get loosed, fits in with the Loki, being chained and causing the earthquakes, and it's going to break free, Interesting.
Okay, we got two more. Oh, hang on, Scott. We have 2 more videos left, 2 more shorts, and then we'll talk about this before we get ready to end the show. All righty? All right, let me bring up this one. Oops. Here we go. Oops.
Causing the death of Balder, Loki fled. Disguised as a fish, he hid in the mountains, but the gods found him. They captured him, and, in divine vengeance, bound him with the entrails of his own son, transforming the tendons into iron. Above his head, a venomous serpent was hung, dripping poison on his face. His loyal wife, Sigyn, stayed by his side, holding a bowl to catch the venom, but when she emptied it, a drop would strike Loki's face, causing him to thrash in agony. These spasms are said to cause earthquakes in Midgard. Loki remained in torment until the day of Ragnarok. Subscribe for more mythical tales. After causing the death of Balder,
yeah, we knew that one.
Yeah, just reiterating the earthquake thing, being caused.
Right. All right, let me play this.
Bad dudes.
Let me play this last one here. Let me get over the commercials. I hate commercials. I hate them. But I'm not going to pay because now you have commercials when you pay for YouTube, so it doesn't really matter. Right. So I'm not going to make it any different. All right. And this one here is only about 3 minutes. So we'll watch this one. Well, there's a sight to be seen. Okay.
He was a god, but not like the others. A trickster, a shapeshifter, a bringer of chaos. This is the story of Loki, not the Marvel version, but the one feared by the gods of Asgard themselves. Loki was not born among the Aesir gods. He came from the land of giants, the Jotnar. Yet somehow, he gained Odin's trust and became a blood brother to the All-Father himself. Clever, charming, and dangerous. Loki used his wit to help the gods, but also to humiliate them. Loki was more than a trickster. He was a master of disguise. From animals to old men, to beautiful women, he transformed to survive, deceive, and dominate. With every form, he blurred the line between who he was and what he wanted to become. But Loki was also a father to monsters. The wolf Fenrir, the world serpent Jormungandr, and Hel, queen of the underworld. Over time, Loki's pranks turned cruel. He caused the death of Balder, the beloved god of light. To the gods, Loki was both a gift and a curse. He brought laughter and despair. He saved treasures and destroyed peace. This act shattered his place in Asgard, and the gods could no longer forgive him. For this, the gods chained Loki to a rock with venom dripping onto his face for eternity. They silenced him with chains, but prophecy warned the end would begin not with thunder, but with his whisper. But prophecy says he will break free during Ragnarok and lead the enemies of the gods. Some say the gods still watch him, hidden behind the skies, listening for his voice, not to stop him, but perhaps to understand him. For in every lie Loki ever told, there may have been a truth the gods feared to hear. Was Loki truly evil, or simply the price the gods had to pay for their own arrogance? Chaos, after all, is part of every story, even the divine. Enjoyed the tale?
Well, that's true. There's a lot of chaos. A lot.
Yeah. But, thinking about, he is the father of all the monsters, all the demons, all the, yeah, he's a shapeshifter, I mean, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. So, any thoughts, Scott, on that?
No, not really. Just the battle's on, folks. And for it's up, to talk about these topics that really these things are given by God. I mean, why am I on the show tonight?
Yeah.
This isn't this isn't by coincidence. I had no intention. I wanted to chime in into another show regarding this, but I said, you know what? There's something like I've got something to share on the show too that will bring some substance to the show. I mean, we're all here to help each other too. That's what it's a collaboration of information that we've all have, and I mean, I'm looking back on my education. It's like there was no collaboration on academia. I mean, they were just like, this is the topic today, what we were going to learn. And it's like, eat it, it's like, I mean, you had no chance to bring up any other kind of subject matter, in academia. It's like, it's all pre-programmed stuff. It's a matrix that they're putting you into. And, I mean, if I went to college now and I sat into a professor's and my arm went up, is like, I guess the answer that I would get from the professor is something that would not make sense to me, and I would be like, going back to college, I'm going to cancel all my classes. That was a tremendous mistake. I mean, they would either, they would make fun of you or whatever else. But the thing of it is, there would be no way I would go back and finish my degree. No way. Because I'm like, I left that long ago, and I'll never, I was always thinking about doing that, but I'm going like, no way, Scott, because you're going to bring something in that the devil does not like, and these professors, man, are going to jump all over you, So it's kind of sad, huh? Stuff that we know now that, academia, they have no interest in this stuff. Even if you went into mythology, you went into a class that had, talking about mythology and theology and different stuff like that, and you brought this information up, you get booted out of class.
Yeah, because they only want to teach you what they want you to know. They do not practice expanding the minds. And nowadays it starts in kindergarten. You're going to learn what they want to teach you, not the truth, not knowledge. And part of knowledge is expanding your mind on thinking and the things that you learn.
Man, I'm so glad, man. I never got a degree. I mean, I think looking back on like why did my mom, like, I could get a recreational degree or something like that, something easy, right? But I chose something very interesting in my what I was interested in, uh, but you know, thinking back, it's just not to dwell on it too much, but it was like, thank God I it went against the grain of my spiritualness. Like, this does not make sense anymore to me. There's no thirst to get a degree in anything. There was no thirst. And I was like, I thank Jesus Christ for getting me out of that mess. Because anybody with a degree, you get a job. You can get a job with government, anything so quick. So what are all these jobs? You apply. What do they say? 4-year degree, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a 4-year degree, or you got to be bilingual or whatever. Yeah. So these people, you can go throughout your life and have a very comfortable life. You might have a family and everything else. I'm glad I never got that, because I would never have known all this stuff if I would have had a 4-year degree. I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth. Because I was in that matrix,
Yeah.
And
That's one thing. Like, my daughter did that. My daughter went to school. My daughter was fine till she went to college. And she got a degree in liberal arts. And all of a sudden, she didn't believe in God. She didn't believe in Jesus. She doesn't believe in the devil. She doesn't believe, So I'm like, what on earth did they teach you? What did they teach you? Because this is ridiculous, Everything that she was brought up with and to try and believe, she just backpedaled completely and lost it,
Quick story. I went to a private school in Asia, and I was playing pony league baseball on a team, and there was a boy that came on our team, and I asked him, I said, well, do you go to our school? Or I don't see you. This was like 8th grade, I think. And he goes, no, I don't go to your school. I live on a sailboat, and I have a tutorer, and my school is on my boat. I have a tutorer. And I thought, like, by the time I was in 8th grade, I was like, I knew about this academia. It's like, something in me told me, like, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Get out. And when I heard that kid's story, I'm going like, unbelievable. To some kid sailing around the world on a yacht. I think they were like from Australia maybe or something. But can you imagine that lifestyle of not going to school and having that kind of education, be sailing around the world, with a tutor and their family, unbelievable.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Not everybody can learn while you're sailing around on a boat. So, Suzy, do you have anything else that you want to bring up and talk about?
There was a couple little things that I was going to read to you that I had screenshotted, and it was just in relation to Jehovah Sabaoth being in the Old Testament, and now with the Mandela effect, it's in the New Testament talking about Sabaoth, and Sabaoth is known as the little Zeus, not Zeus the tyrant, but Zeus the good Zeus, which is, and we get into it, just gets so, like, in the Old Testament we have so many different gods, like, it talks about Ashtaroth, Moloch, It talks about Yahweh. It talks about Jehovah. It talks about Baal, the god Baal. And so there's all these gods and false gods that took over. But the one that was, like I'm saying, like the connection between Jehovah and Odin, that one chose wisdom. That one chose to protect his son. That one chose, you know, to, these things that are very interesting. He also claims that he made the world, but he, and in the book of the War of the Lords, it says that Jehovah got usurped by the false gods, and that the false gods was Dios and Osiris and Baal and Ashtaroth, and they took over Mount Horeb or Mount Hermon. And then I found that story in the Bible where Jesus takes Peter to the base of Mount Hermon, which is at the base of Lebanon, Syria, and Israel, and he shows them, and you can Google there at the base of Mount Hermon is Zeus's temple next to Pan's grotto, who guards the gates of hell, which is a hybrid animal that's supposed to be the son of Zeus. And so Zeus, supposedly the tyrant Zeus, they said there's a portal above Mount Hermon. That's where the 200 angels came down in the book of Enoch. And above that is where he resides in his palace. And he, according to the stories, the last that I knew that was ruling was Baal. I'm just saying they named the mountain called Baal Hermon. That's the name of the mountain, Baal Hermon in Israel, where Zeus's temple's at. So, but, I mean, it's just, it just gets so crazy when you're talking about gods and authorities and angels and demons and and then you get into the monsters and the giants, and I mean it just never, it doesn't stop. It's just gets, you end up with the wolfmen and you get with vampires, and you get werewolves, and even the Bible talks about Benjamin was a ravenous wolf, literally devouring his prey and dividing it the next day. And they say that he was a hybrid werewolf. He was a human that could shapeshift into werewolf, and he could only come back. And the rabbis say this: he could only come back as a human if he ate humans. And it was the day after a full moon or something. I don't know. It's even, I mean, the stuff is even in the Bible. It's right there, just little bits and pieces of it, but it's there. You just got to go running down that rabbit hole to get more information, because then when the rabbis translate the scriptures, they say it's not figuratively speaking, it's literal, that he was a wolf. Benjamin was a wolf. Yeah. A werewolf. Yeah. So, then you get back to the story where it says that this false god had children with Eve, and that was Cain and Abel, and from the Canaanites comes this bloodline, it just gets stranger. But I was going to read something from this. Hang on, let me pull it up. Okay. Here it says, in the Pistis Sophia book is a Gnostic text. It incorporates elements of Greek mythology, including a figure referred to as the little Sabaoth, the good, also known as Zeus. Specifically, this text mentions that the power is drawn from the little Sabaoth the good and bound to Zeus, who is described as good. So that's referencing Jehovah. He was the one who committed to doing the right thing. And so that's, and what's interesting about that, okay, that's in the Gnostic, but the really cool thing is when you get to the New Testament now in the Bible, this is so cool. Hang on, I'm going to pull it up. In Romans 9:29, it says, and Isaiah prophesied or predicted, unless the Lord of Sabaoth. Now that I find that highly interesting, that we are talking about an Old Testament God being mentioned in the New Testament. Okay. So it says, and as Isaiah predicted, unless the Lord of Sabaoth had left us an offspring. So what I'm saying, why I am saying my name is the Allfather, I am the bloodline of Odin, who I believe to be this Lord of Sabaoth or Jehovah. And it's saying, unless the Lord of Sabaoth had left us an offspring, we would have fared like Sodom and been more likened to Gomorrah. And that's in the New Testament, right? And then there's another scripture in the New Testament speaking about this, and it's in James 5:4. Behold, the wages of the laborers have mowed your fields, which they have kept back by fraud, and crying out against you, and the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. Now that's another name for the Lord. Sabaoth means the Lord of the hosts, means he is the Lord of the angels that watch over and protect people. And he hears our cries, is what it's saying. He knows us, he hears us, and he will come and help us. Yeah.
So, Scott, what do you think about all that?
What, you know, you're putting me on the spot. No, it's you know, thank God we have, you know, the angelic realm to protect us, you know, from all this, like Suzy was saying, all these, you know, these creatures, and you know, they're all made from previous years, and you know, these spirits, disembodied spirits, are jumping into these creative monsters that are still being created by probably the U.S. government's creating a lot of these hybrid, you know, wolves, walking wolves, and these spirits are jumping into these wolves, you know, causing all kinds of mayhem. I mean, can you imagine the Park Service saying, I mean, I've been in these parks before, like Glacier, and it'll say, and I didn't know this at this time, but it says, this trail is closed because of maintenance. You know, well, yeah, walking wolf grabbed somebody and tore them apart, you know, who knows? But I mean, this is $1 billion industry, the Park Service, jobs, everything. And these creatures are, you know, these spirits are jumping into these, whether they're Nephilim created or whether they're government created. I think they're both. And because I've read stuff about, you know, the U.S. Army is trying to use these wolves as soldiers. You know, God forbid, can you imagine putting you know, a machine gun in the hands of one of these wolves? You know, yeah, incredible. You know, and but they're just like, you know, animals are they're still wild. Even the cat I have, this boy cat, he still has this, you know, animal instinct, and you know, that he you know, he still has that DNA in him, that you know, it's you know, he's still not, you know, I still don't trust, you know, I mean, you know, any kind of animal, you know, they still have this you know, type of, because they're not human, you know, they have this other type of DNA in them. But yeah, thank God for the angelic realm, to you know, to protect us and guide us, and bring us closer to God, you know, because, you know, because they're used as messengers for us, you know. So
Well, I'll tell you a little bit of something about my cats, and I don't get protection. I found her when she was itty bitty, you know, saved her life. Mommied her, taught her how to use the litter box, fed her out of a bottle, the whole 9 yards, right? So now here we are 7 years later, and I still have to watch, and I'm the only one that I have to be like with this. I still have to watch her, because I could be on a live stream, and if you see me do this, it's because she is on my bed staring me down.
No.
And one time she did that and she leaped on me and bit me. I had blood everywhere.
Oh my
But
gosh.
somebody told me when she was little, did you used to wrestle and play with her? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, she was a kitten. Of course I did. Well, apparently with cats, if they are around their parents when they are an adult, they still roughhouse with them. And that was her roughhousing with me because she thinks I am her mommy. I'm like, well,
Oh,
fine and well, but she's wicked if you ask me.
cats can be a little rough. Yeah, if they want to be.
Yeah, and she's black, all black. Yep.
Yeah, black cats are mysterious cats. I had one, and she was indoor outdoor cat, but she came to me and God brought this cat to me. And they're like, they're also, they're very mysterious, and they have eyes and ears that we don't have, and they see things and hear. They're like, the cats that I have, they're like watchdogs.
Mine, she has the yellow eyes, but when she starts to get aggravated, they'll turn like a bright green. When she is very angry or she wants to attack me, they go completely black. Like there is nothing, they're completely black. And I'm like, oh, this little evil thing. But I've had her for 7 years. I won't get rid of her. She is scared to death the outside. My cat will not. My little dog got out one day and I had the door wide open. I'm in my wheelchair chasing him all the way down the street. I come back after I get him. My door is wide open and she's just pretty as can be, just sitting there in front of the door, did not cross the threshold, just sitting there looking like, where'd you go? But I don't trust her. She's waiting for me to die in my sleep so she could be the first one to eat me. That's what it is.
She can pounce on you. Silly cat.
Yeah, they get spoiled. They're brats. They're loving. They're brats. They got a lot of personalities, and so yeah, I love animals. Dogs are a little bit harder. I had a dog. Just speaking about animals, but they pass away. It's all these animals are kind of a heartbreak. And they pass away.
Now, this one here, he is. You want to talk about spoiled? He goes everywhere with me. He's a perfect gentleman, isn't he, Suzy?
He's a good dog.
Unless he is around Suzy's dogs. This little thing right here thinks he can take on 20 of Suzy's farm dogs all at once. He does not like when mommy pays attention to other dogs. He's fine when he goes places, won't bark at other dogs until I go, oh, how cute. And that's it. It's over. Don't you look at them. Don't you? This is my boss right here. And he knows it. And he's from Russia. He was born in Russia and he was sent out here. Somebody else had adopted him bought him on an impulse buy. And her boyfriend, she didn't ask, and he didn't like him and he was mistreating him. So she told me she paid like $800 for him. For a rehoming fee, she wanted at least close to what she paid. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I got $100 and I'll give him a good home. And she's like, okay, come get him. It's on. I'll get him. Brat.
Oh.
So any other last minute thoughts or anything like that?
Got anything, Scott?
Not for me. I'm done.
Okay. Oh, when I was looking through my notes, Scott, I saw something that I had talked about before, which might have a little bit to do with your cloud thing. Okay. And it had something to do with in the book of the War of Jehovah. Okay, which the Bible speaks about that book, by the way. There was this one thing that I wrote down When you were talking about the clouds, you were talking about chemtrails. I'm trying to see if I can find that again. Hang on. It had said, hang on. And I had just seen it too. Let's see. Hang on. You can talk about something, Brenda, while I'm looking this up. How's that? I'll look this up.
Find it?
Find it? I'm looking. I had just seen it, so.
Yeah, that's Sophia. That book you're talking about, the Sophia.
Pistis Sophia?
Yeah, yeah. I remember we did a study in that at another church. I remember, and you know, I was like, I couldn't believe they were talking about this at this other, you know, and this wasn't affiliated with the church at all, but it was somebody, you know, using the church as a, you know, a free, you know, place to discuss instead of somebody's home or something like that. But yeah, I remember that book a long time ago, you know, listening to, because I used to go to all these kind of these seminar things like this too, whether it be in somebody's home or somebody or the different churches and stuff. And yeah, it was pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's I think it's 147 chapters in that book. And man, I had just seen this thing, man, too. It was like crazy. What I remember when I looked at it was it talked about these false gods that were ruling over the earth. You know, at the time Jesus showed up on the scene, it was said that, you know, Satan appeared to him and said, you know, this is my world, and if you worship me, I'll let you, you know, have it. And he's like, and you call me God or whatever. And he's like, nope, not going to do it, you know. So these false gods were, you know, these bad gods or whatever you want to call them, were running everything. It said that these bad gods would send out their angels to put foul smelling dead in the air to poison people. So they put this to cause plagues. Yeah, they would bring about these plagues. You know, the Bible talks about these plagues, and it said they were doing this by spreading this stuff in the skies, you know, which would literally like rain down from the clouds on you, you know, stuff would. You know, so they would be using that, you know, to make people sick. You know, I'm like, they're dirty little bastards, excuse my French. But, you know, when you got to poison somebody, you know, good grief, right, Brenda? You know about that, right? When, you know, I mean, witches do like to poison people.
Oh,
you know?
yes, they do.
Yeah.
They and the intent to kill was definitely there because I was pretty near close to it. So yeah.
Right.
You know, as a tidbit, getting back to this chemtrail stuff, I don't know if you guys know this, but there is absolutely nothing in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or any other document that prohibits chemtrailing.
Right.
So what's going on is something that, you know, they can, like Florida, they can say something like they're going to ban chemtrailing or whatever. But what they failed to bring up is they failed to bring up, you know, that information that back in those days when they drew up the Constitution, you know, airships and that type of warfare was never thought of, you know, in the air. So, they had dirigibles and, from the old world too. But I think, again, the development of Benjamin Franklin and all those dudes, man, that signed all this different stuff, they probably knew that, but they never printed it in a document. And these people were pretty smart, these founders of the Constitution, and but it was never ratified at all. So, the only way to destroy this whole concept of chemtrailing is something like a constitutional convention where they expose this whole thing and put that in there and expose to the whole world and the whole people of the United States that it's not the Congress, they have no say in it because it's not part of the document. So, the powers to be, they either shielded the eyes of the founding fathers, or they were just plain ignorant. They didn't know to put that in there. But that's a fact that that the elite, they can do anything by the air, and it's been proven. Like they've Tuskegee experiments in Alabama about smallpox, to testing people to see if they can get smallpox. I think they dumped uranium in Minneapolis off a high rise to see if people would get cancer. There's a lot of stuff. Again, dropping, placing, ground level or above. All those experiments on the human being. So, this I just wanted to bring that up if nobody knew about that. About there's nothing in the Constitution or Bill of Rights, any document that, nor is anybody bringing that up. That's a political figure. It's like, and again, this whole political government, they're under a spell. They're not gonna, because you bring that up, and you can actually lose your retirement. These people, these political people. If you're arrested, if you're held in a felony of some sort, which I hope all of them will, but guess what? They're not going to get, their pension is frozen. They're not going to get anything. They're not going to get anything on their pension, all that. But again, it's going to take a miracle of God to expose all this. Whether they're going to start a new government or whatever. But it's some serious stuff going on right now.
Well, I know that
here it was saying Baal and Ashtaroth in the air, they shall carry the viruses that you breathe. So when you breathe of them, if you do not bow down to their god, to like Dios or Baal or Ashtaroth, they will spread these poisons in the air, is what they said. These demons, yeah.
Now, in our Constitution, we do have the Second Amendment. And in that Second Amendment part that's written, we do have the right to defend ourselves. And if these things that they're dropping on us is harming us, I would think that we would be able to shoot them down to defend ourselves.
Nah, that's not going to happen. They have.
Well, that's when you pray, Brenda, and you pray to the good God, and you ask Him to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah, Suzy's right. The thing is this: if we behave in the flesh way, the adversary already knows. So we have to get the Lord of hosts to work on our side.
There you go. Get the good God to fight the bad gods.
We're giving it to God. We give it to God, and let God do His work. because we're a bunch of F-ups. There's just no way. Every angle is covered by the adversary except for one. God is the ruler, and every knee will bow at the end, including the werewolves, the lizard men, the aliens, all these creatures, man. They're all going to stoop down, lay down, and submit, to the God of, I believe the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob.
God Most High. The God Most
The
High.
whole,
The good
reference of it.
God.
But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up about, uh, what we're dealing with in the sky,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty nasty stuff.
All right, guys. Well, we have been on for 3 hours. So we went an hour over what we normally do. Scott, I
And
don't stay
sometimes
on
we
as
do
long as
that.
Abe. Sometimes. But so I just want to say, I want to thank Scott. Thank you for coming
Thank you,
on
Scott.
with us. It's been fun.
Great.
It has. It's been great.
It's been great. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And
yeah,
I'm going to look up more of this cloud stuff too, because I think I have a little story. I might divulge that on the Abe's show, but I've got a lot of photographs concerning that too. So it's a whole different type of topic, but it's something that I would like to share to people, and I think it's biblically related. So maybe I'll have to find out how to do this. You guys are probably pretty good at, you guys are up to date on, bringing these films and different stuff into that. I'm not that kind of person, so I have to get my son. He's pretty good at that stuff. So, anyways, but yeah, thanks for inviting me. And I see your channel. I always see this, beyond I see the square on there, but when I'm on other shows, I can't really comment for some reason. I don't know how to do that. Like I think a private chat, I think I throw some stuff in, but it's kind of fun when you're not on the show, where you can kind of interject. You can kind of talk to all these people, and it's actually, to me, it's a little more fun. You get a lot of people on there, and you can kind of you could talk about the other person on there, or you could talk about other stuff on there. So it opens up a whole different can of worms, on the chat. So,
well, I'll tell you how you do that, Scott. What you do is, if you have the show that you're on, and you have it on the one device, if you get your phone and you go to the show on your phone, you can chat at the same time. I think, and I don't know why this is set up like this, where it's like,
that's why I have another phone and I chat on that one.
Yeah, the only one that can actually chat on this screen is me. And it's like that on Abe's, but I have 2 computer screens. So I will run the show on one screen and then be on there on the other one. So I can actually do both.
Yeah. I mean, one's enough for me, My God. So.
All right, everyone. Well, we are going to go ahead and call it a night. That way, if Abe decides to go on tonight, which I think
he's on now. Somebody said.
Abe's
is he? Went live.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So we will go ahead.
Everybody got to go over to Abe's,
so we can go invade Abe. That's what we usually do. So let me just say to everybody tonight, thank you for coming. Thank you for everybody in the chat. You guys have a good rest of the weekend. And we will be back next weekend. Scott, I usually only do our shows on Friday and Saturday nights. I'd like to do more, but it's getting people to come on with me is kind of a hassle during the week. So, but we are going to go ahead and call it a night. And you guys, like always, every day, please be kind to one another and have a blessed night, y'all. Good night.
Good night.